you have the element of surprise for Philly.
Meko, it's an easy pickup for him. Sabiobi is also here.
Anytime you have Carpe and Shadowburn, you have a fighting chance in a match. And then also, Poco had a very good contender.
NYXL once again stabilized here in a second stage. Very good approach there from Neko.
Beautiful play there. Now it's going to be the Philadelphia Fusion gaining some more progress.
NYXL put the foot down. What do you say about that?
The action continues live from LA. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Overwatch League. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and this is day 10 of the regular season. We brought back Zoe to the desk, and Zoe, we got to get your thoughts. Boston just pulled off arguably the biggest upset we've seen so far in the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I am shocked. I'm pretty sure so is London Spitfire. Honestly, looking at their performance, this was not the London Spitfire we have been seeing for the past 2 weeks. On the other hand, this is also not the Boston Uprising we've been seeing the past 2 weeks. They really stepped up their game. They came together. The cohesion they had and also the execution of a clearly put in place game plan was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, me and Ben, we predicted this in halftime, so I'm not,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
that surprised. No.
Just calm, cool, collected, reinforced, saw it coming the entire way.
I did,
By the way,
however, that tweet you tweeted out right afterwards about dreading that prediction. Are you going to take that back now, or?
No, I'm not taking that back.
no, he deleted it. It's gone.
It's
we were
gone.
sweating.
It's never
We were
happened.
sweating at the desk. We were like, this might be a bit of a
Yeah.
mistake. Because, I mean, me personally, it's always a bad idea to bet against these Korean rosters because you never know when they're just going to turn it around and come back from it. But Boston, they dug in deep. They knew the plan, and I mean, they came out on top.
So let's take a look at our schedule for the day so far. We just finished the first match. We're running a little bit behind here, but it was Boston who now joins the Gladiators and the Shock at 2-3 after their 5 matches played. London Spitfire still in our top 3 with a 5-1 record, but this next match is a big one for the Fusion. They're going up against the unbeaten New York Excelsior, and it's time to get this party started right now. Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, the Philadelphia Fusion. Carpe and Shadowburn leading this 2-2 squad who are coming off a heartbreaking loss in that Game 5 to the Gladiators. But they've had a full week of rest, so let's talk about the benefits this may have on the team.
Yeah, perhaps it's for the better, right? Because so far, the Philadelphia Fusion squad has been pretty one-dimensional. We've seen Carpe on the Widowmaker and the Tracer, Shadowburn on the Genji, occasionally on the Junkrat. But overall, perhaps we see some more strategic diversity coming out of this team when they've had a 1 week, fully week to prepare for this game.
Yeah, and talking about diversity, so far we've not really seen them making use of the subbing much. I asked their coach about that, and he said that they have yet to come together as a team and reach a cohesive understanding of the game. Once more reminding me that the players all arrived much later than basically all the other teams. We haven't seen them in preseason, so they feel like they're still behind in playtime as a team. And using subs can be a double-edged sword. We even seen them see that on practice teams.
In general, the one player I'm looking out for has got to be Boombox here, this guy in front of your screens, because I know what he's capable of, and I want to see him turn up. This was one of the original Zenyatas back in the European Overwatch days, right? He was the one who sort of first displayed the style of Zenyatta, where you're getting kills across the map and getting these picks, and everyone sort of was revered around him. He was this sort of legend in the European scene as this guy who could get the picks. Obviously, this is now the norm, as we've seen. This is the Zenyatta playstyle that's developed from it, but I want him to turn up now in this game. I want him to show up against New York Excelsior and put on a good performance.
So we've seen some amazing supports. Bedosian just shown from the London Spitfire. How does Boombox compare? Are they both right clickers, left clickers? What's the job that you're going to be looking for from Boombox?
Boombox traditionally has always been this guy who gets the picks when it's needed. Similar to a lot of the Zenyatas in the league right now. But like I mentioned, he was one of the originals who did it. Compare that to people like Bedosian. Bedosian gets supported a lot, damage boosted and whatnot. That's how he's capable. Boombox tries to do it by himself.
All right, we'll see if Boombox can get the job done because he is going to have some stiff competition on the other side of the stage. It's time to welcome out the New York XL. The Excelsior are coming in at 4-0, and we talked a little bit about the supports today. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Jonak.
Yeah, and they had a really solid performance in both their matches in week 2, and not like notable improvements, I would say, from week 1 to week number 2. The communication and mostly their ult management looked a lot better, a lot more solid, a lot more clean. I felt like they did a better job at keeping track of the enemy ults, and they always were aware of what's coming their way and acted accordingly.
So I'm going to come out and say this right now. I personally believe this is the best team in the league.
Okay.
Johnny gets annoyed when I say this, but here's my reason. This team, they're concise, they're disciplined, and they can play a whole variety of different styles. They're not just stuck to dive, to just tank play. They can play it all at such a high level, which we've seen from the games. I got high hopes for this team coming into the league, and I genuinely do believe they're in that position, that #1 spot right now.
I have to punish you a bit. They're not better than Seoul Dynasty. Come on, they have Libero, of course, who is the jack of all trades, who is really impressive, but he's not this superstar kind of player, I would say, neither on the Genji or on the other heroes. So, sure, I mean, they're flexible. They play the slow style. We often see Mano on the Orisa, for example, and sometimes we see them swap over to the dive. But even then, Mano tends to overextend on the Winston. So this is a squad that is really good, but are they better than Seoul? No, sorry, Brent, I won't do that.
All right, well, Johnny, last week you told me that Saebyeolbe is the best tracer in the game right now. Is he on the best team, or are you officially putting him at #2 in your power rankings?
I think that Mano and Libero are the two who really needs to step up for the New York XL to finally beat Seoul Dynasty, of course. I mean, Saebyeolbe, I love the guy. He can play the McCree, the Widowmaker, and Tracer at a top level. But at the same time, I think there needs some more sync between the dives to get it working.
All right, so we know that Philadelphia last week had to play in back-to-back days. That's going to limit the amount of practice that they had. Coming into this week, they've had almost a full week to prepare for this matchup. How do you see things playing out? Is New York going to be ready for them?
I think they are. However, when I did talk to the coaches of the Philadelphia Fusion, they said that, look, NYXL is going to play against the Seoul Dynasty this week. This is a very, very important and big matchup for them, as they obviously want to come out on top of that to prove that they could potentially be the best team here in this league. Now, Fusion thinks that maybe, if NYXL is actually focusing so hard on that match against the Seoul Dynasty, maybe Fusion runs under the radar. Maybe they didn't really practice that much, and that's going back to what we also heard from Bishop. Preparing against two different teams, two completely different playstyles, sometimes even two different map pools. That's hard to split your focus there.
Will it be 2 upsets in the same day? According to the standings, of course. Johnny, let's get your opinion here, weighing in purely on the tanks as a former star tank player. Who has the edge today? Are you going New York, or is it going to be Fraggy and the boys of the Philadelphia Fusion?
It's actually very even. You like to talk about the DPS players in this matchup. I mean, you have Shadowburn, you have Carpe, Libero, and Saebyeolbe. But I like to focus on the tanks because we have 2 very aggressive tank duos. I mean, Fraggy, of course, he's all over the place. And then you have Mano, who I touched on. It's a bit too aggressive on his Winston sometimes and leaves his backline behind. So I'm actually going to look out for maybe Poco versus Meko, 2 of the best divas in the league, and of course Mano versus Fraggy.
So you're talking all about the tanks, Johnny. We all know that's your specialist, you know, Reinforced, OG days when you're playing the tank. But for me personally, I'm going to be looking at the flex supports in this match. I've already mentioned Boombox a little bit before, but for me, it's who he's up against. JJoNak. This is a guy, the name we hear so often because of how potent he is on that Zenyatta role. Boombox here today, he needs to step up his game plan from what we've seen before in the previous matches. He needs to get on that level like we have seen that JJoNak is performing at here today.
It's the Brit versus the Blonde. Who are you going with?
The Brit, obviously.
Always going with the Boombox. Bren, you've been right once today. I'm not going to give you any crap before this match starts off. Let's see how it all plays out. Are you guys ready to get match #2 started? Our crowd is ready to go. Let's send it backstage to our casters. We got Mr. X with Uber.
Well, Bren, you know what they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day, but this one will be quite the stoush, actually. Some amazing matchups between these 2 rosters. It's obviously the 2-2 Fusion going up against the 4-0 NYXL. I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Yeah, I'm interested. You know, Johnny kind of had the tanks listed about even because we were in the pack here. We were like, you know, Meko has played a sick off tank for NYXL, whether it's D.Va or Roadhog. And then I think they can rotate either of those main tanks in, whether it's Mano or Janus. I think they have a very strong tank line, does NYXL. I think Fraggy's, you know, he's going to be the big kind of question mark in this series for me. You know, how does he play on the Winston for Philly?
Well, we're going to be kicking things off with Numbani, and as you mentioned, Poco and Meko sounds like names you give to your pet Pachimari plushes, but that's where my focus is going to be in this matchup. At the D.Va play, we saw that Meko was insane in his last few series, and Poco probably, I'd say, easily still has that highest kill count with his self-destructs. 2 Divas with focuses on different parts of D.Va's kit that they really make work well. Let's make some noise, ladies and gentlemen. The Fusion now go head-to-head with the NYXL. It all starts here on Numbani.
We'll see if NYXL can avoid some of those D.Va self-destructs that Poco's been picking up, you know, 2-3Ks with all the time. And I don't even know if we should even track the stat anymore because he's so far ahead of everybody else. Last week it was like 45 kills with self-destructs.
It's interesting and it's unique, and what I love about it is that he's able to put experienced opponents in a position where they either, you know, lose a team fight or die to a self-destruct. You know what I mean? You put them, yeah, in a situation where there's no way out of it, and he does that, of course, by setting things up and making sure he places his stuff in the right place. But on the fly through here, it is going to be the NYXL to defend to start this one off here. Philadelphia struggled, you know, previously against the London Spitfire. It's been talked about on the desk, Matt, that, you know, the NYXL might be the top team in the league. What do you think about that?
I want to see them play against Seoul Dynasty, but I think they're very close. I think they're right there. I think, you know, those two teams are probably a little bit, you know, closer than people expect as we go into that next match.
Yeah, I think we've seen that Seoul can sort of look a bit ragged and average. I think they struggle a little bit against the Dragons, who pressured them hard. And, well, now we know the story of the Spitfires. So, we're not going to go with any gap closing memes yet, Matt. However, we are getting very, very close to the opening of this round, and we can see the Excelsior lineup. Again, the defensive Pharah makes an appearance.
Yeah, they'll go with Libero playing Pharah here, and JJoNak will not be playing Zen at the beginning. He'll be playing Ana. Ana sees probably the most play on Numbani on defense than any other map in the game right now, so it makes sense if you have a great Ana player to bring her out here. On the offense here, for the Philadelphia Fusion, Shadowburn will not be playing that Genji. He'll be playing Pharah.
What face of Janus will we see today, Matt? The one that succeeds to get into the back lines and shutting the Fusion down early, or the one that struggles himself? We're going to be on the approach now, and Poko quickly ascends to the high ground again just to get a bit of a commanding view of the situation and pave the way for the rest of his team. The Pharah duel is going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on here, with Shadowburn going head-to-head with Libero, the jack of all trades, but perhaps not king of Numbani.
Yeah, normally, you know, a dive would come in here for Philadelphia, and you're trying to force the soldier off of the high ground, but you have Libero playing the Pharah. He can go back, give the Mercy a really easy spot to get away to. It'll be the Philadelphia Fusion getting on the point here, just trying to draw the members from NYXL out.
Well, Frankie's low. He often dies first in these fights, so he's forced to back away early. Boombox is taken down by JJoNak across the map there. The high ground control from the Ana definitely paying off, but Janus is down. Main tank missing now for the NYXL, and Shadowburn gets a nice little direct hit, but has to respect the fact that JJoNak can hit him from a long way off.
Yeah, Janus dies around that corner, though. It's a pretty easy res for Arc to get off, so NYXL back at full strength here. JJoNak getting very close to a nano boost. Arc building up towards a Valkyrie here as well. Neptuno has his Valkyrie for Philadelphia. He's going to use it to try and engage.
Frankie's down to start the fight off, but Janus has responded onto. Frankie, though, is brought back, and it might be too risky here to get a res on towards Janus for the NYXL. Shadowburn taking his time. No, Arc's just going to swoop down, dive bomb, and get the resurrect on the Winston to bring him back. Valkyries are in play from both Mercies. Shadowburn hovering over the point. No, he is quite close to a barrage here. Should he choose to use it, he needs to stay safe, but he's put to sleep there. Nicely done, and now JJoNak might be punished for that one. He does get taken down by Boombox. It's a salvo of balls led towards him, but Libero is there to capitalize on the sleeping bird.
Janus still with a Primal Rage, though, so you do have some ults to extend the point here for NYXL. Boombox will use the Transcendence here. He's got Poko and Carpe working with him. See if Philly can turn this fight in their favor. It'll be Libero using his Rocket Barrage. Gonna get the DMAC. It'll be Poko launching out with a self-destruct. He'll get right back in it. Oh, he barely gets right back inside the Mac.
They need this as well. They've almost got that one tick. I think they've just brought that one back up here now. Janus goes into the fight feeling optimistic, but comes out feeling misty optic. He'll fall. It's going to be almost 3 points now for this point, and the Fusion are going to take this one away. Very slow, patient play from this team, and they managed to unravel NYXL at the seams like the Christmas sweater you wish you never got.
Libero will go with Soldier 76 as we go to the second stage of the map, trying to, you know, get some more damage on the Shadowburn in the sky, playing the Pharah. But you really see, you know, the kind of the give and trade when you have Ana or Zen at the beginning there. You know, they get a nice nano boost onto Janus. He's able to use it to stay alive, you know, just the damage mitigation that it, you know, has. And they don't have that second big ult, though, like a Transcendence to kind of keep that fight going on the point.
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't see too many teams maintain the Ana pick here. Sometimes it's just because of the way you spawn. You spawn in a fair way back when you need to stay alive. You don't want to leave your team undermanned, so he just sticks with it. For now, that was beautiful, though. Nice work with Shadow, but he knocks him out, of course, of the healing field, and it's going to be Libero still surviving that somehow, despite the fact that Boombox is still getting involved in that fight. I thought it was the end of the 76, cleverly to move him out of the biotic field, but the fight still continues.
And Samuel connects a Pulse Bomb on a Neptuno while he's in Valkyrie, so that's a big kill. The Arc using his Valkyrie as well as JJoNak throws out his nano boost on the Libero here. Is Libero on the 76 just mowing through players, and it's a little bit of a late Transcendence. You just had Boombox and Poko there. You know, Carpe trying to get out back towards the rest of his team. Probably would have liked to hold on to that Transcendence.
I think they needed to have Fraggy up in that fight. You know, they were getting gummed up by the front line of the Excelsior and wanted to really try and dive on the weaker targets like that Ana. They need to shut JJoNak down. Now Boombox is going to come back in. Boombox, widely considered for a long time one of the best Zenyatas in Europe, may have met his match up against JJoNak, who's just been lighting the world on fire. Once he gets onto that Zen King, of course, when the payload's moving forward, it's going to be a war of attrition, Matt. A grind to try and get through the streets.
Libero earns himself the tack visor, so you're going to try and demech Poco here, even though Poco's got that self-destruct. He's going to throw the mech right around the corner, does not connect with anything as NYXL moves a little bit further up towards the payload to avoid getting caught out by that. So see, it'll be Mecca using his self-destruct now as Shadowburn gets into the backline, takes out Libero. That's big, not going to be able to use that tack visor in this fight.
Great shurikens from Shadowburn on the good follow-up now. Mecca getting desuited, but there are other tanks here from the side of the NYXL diving in the backline. We can see that Neptuno gets put up against the wall by Janus and dealt with. Does have a Discord orb available, or at least on him at this stage. Shadowburn is going to throw a couple of extra shurikens to try and make progress here. The XL are scattered right now to the 4 wins, and Janus might be on his own here.
And they use the nano boost here onto Janus just to keep him up. Get the main tank in the fight the entire time. NYXL will have a opportunity to get back onto the payload here. They still have Janus alive. Boombox will use the Transcendence here early. It'll be Arc using his Valkyrie. So Shadowburn uses the blade, gets 2. You see him just swinging at Arc, and this guy knows he's going to come down, try and get both of these reses off.
A big opportunity for Shadowburn to shut down the res just out of reach. Tantalizing, of course, and it was Arc able to fly down and get reses on Janus there and Libero, but he was cut down shortly after the fact. Carpe knows he needs to turn up here. This payload needs to get along the line. There's a lot of big bodies in the way. The tanks for the XL are obstructing justice and progress here for the Fusion. It looks like one by one they're going to get cut down. Again, the damage is available, and Carpe's staying nimble-footed around this point. A resuit here will be annoying, especially with Libero coming with the tack visor. The Philadelphia Fusion have to respect this.
Oh, and he's going to get Shadowburn with the tack visor. He's going to try and look for more here as Carpe is trying to get close to him in the back, but Mecco using that self-destruct just to stay alive. With the Diva on the point, Poco launch his self-destruct down. Oh, that bubble from Janus saves him as he dives on in back towards the payload.
Now, Twinkle Toes work from Janus there, realizes that his safe haven was actually going to be the only thing that took him down. Leaps outside of his barrier. Now Poco's trying to keep himself topped up here on the point. Mecco's being pressured down. He had the Orb of Harmony and he stays alive a lot longer than he had any business to, but eventually falls. I have to bring JJoNak back now. Pulse Bomb dropped in, no damage from that one. Now trying to pressure Janus. Transcendence here as well. Everything's being thrown to the Fusion, including the kitchen sink. The Excelsior trying to keep themselves in this one and finish it all here. And they may be getting close. Shadowman for the drop. But JJoNak shuts him down. That was the get out of jail free card for the Fusion, and now it's been taken out of him. Shuffle back into the deck. Or no, put that in the discard pile. And the XL are going to hold strong here. The Fusion are a long way off at this stage, and that will be it.
That fight lasted forever.
I know, bro. Look at me heaving like a distressed tuba player.
And Shadowburn's just kind of patiently, we see him all the time, right? He holds onto that blade, holds onto the blade. Both support ults used for NYXL. He pops out that Dragon Blade, and he just gets deleted by JJoNak. He switches onto the Zenyatta. So it's the second half of that map. So nice kill, big kill there from JJoNak. You know, he's seen the magic that Shadowburn has pulled off with Dragon Blades in the past. It's a massive kill.
Defensive style working out so well for the NYXL. It's funny, you know when Monty Indoa ditched just to go and get staked with the soft
Yeah, I remember that.
Bunny said over dinner as well that he recognizes that, you know, NYXL is definitely the more defensive team between, you know, NYXL and, for example, London Spitfire.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now. It's the tank play that really does so much, and the supports. And then with Sabiolbi and Libero have so much freedom to go around and do their thing. Smiles on the face of Arky. He knows he did his job there, of course, as the incorrigible moth, often dropping from the skies to get those resurrects, and they were well-timed indeed, there's no doubt about it.
Well, you see sometimes from NYXL, they'll just have their tanks like kind of walk on in and just take up some space, take up some damage, then just kind of allow Arc to charge his Valkyrie from range. You know, Arc damage boosting JJoNak a lot of the time when he's playing the Zenyatta. That's why you kind of see JJonak's damage go through the roof.
That shutdown on the Shadowburn there when he had the Dragon Blade definitely was a huge difference there. I mean, JJonak's damage, by and large, actually, he did less damage, right? He did less damage and a less percentage of team damage than Boombox did, right? But it's the kills. It's actually completing those.
But he was playing Ana for the whole
That's
first
right.
and second stage, pretty much, towards that
He only
end.
switched to right towards the end.
Right
there,
towards
so.
the end. So
You're
we'll
right,
see what
Matt.
happens. I usually am. So we'll see what JJoNak decides to play here on the offensive side. Right now, he's locked in Genji, so could be. Okay, now we're going to go back to Soldier 76, so you're going to see a triple DPS look here out of NYXL. There'll be JJoNak playing the 76. So a lot like when we see, you know, Seoul Dynasty, they'll have Jaehong go over from Zenyatta, play some Soldier on this map. We're going to see it out of NYXL.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got Libero on the Pharah to a degree to follow up on the dive that's going to be provided from Janus and Meko. And then you've got, Jonak can set up on that left-hand side and try and do something with it. Now they know there's a Junkrat in play, so this is a really interesting strat. Defensive Junkrat here from the Philadelphia Fusion, and Janus falls already to a concussive mine. The explosive potential of Philly strat now being revealed in all its glory. And there's a Widowmaker on the ground. Libero sees that briefly before scampering off and breaking that sight line.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Carpe plays around this, because you have obviously the Pharah up in the sky. It just kind of changes your sight lines that you have to look at, right? You have Saviel B attacking you from the ground.
It's
you're
very
gonna
narrow.
You're gonna have Jonak going up from the high ground, and then you're, even higher than that, you're going to have Libero flying in the sky. So a lot of targets for Carpe here.
Saviobi's back capping here. The Fusion can't give away a point at all. They drop just in time. But there's going to be a couple of things they need to deal with. First, there's threats in the air like Libero. There's threats up on the ledges, but Jonak might be in trouble here. No, he comes out on top. Fraggy's dealt with. Now he's going to be chased down by Shadowburn, and a grenade finds its mark. The 1-for-1 comes in, but Libero still has space to work. A still trap is removed, and Shadowburn's forced to drop down towards the lower levels and admit he might be outgunned. For the moment, it's Poco and Shadowburn together. You can see Neptuno pops a Valkyrie, probably mostly just for the healing potential, but it's 2 ticks already. The Fusion can't even get down on towards the point. The Excelsior are keeping them stuffed up on the high ground, the one place they don't want to be right now. And the Fusion need to break through them as quickly as they possibly can. But when you've got a Widowmaker, you can't stand on the point. Boombox, though, more than happy to do a disco dance up on Libero's corpse. The Bulls do claim the goal. The Excelsior with a lot of players on the point. Transcendence to slow them up.
Yeah, they'll use their Transcendence here towards the end to just make sure that they hold on to point A, but they do build up a lot of progress towards it, and that's what's difficult with the Philadelphia Fusion comp right now, is that you don't have like a Tracer, right, to go and kind of dart on the point, contest it for a little bit, so you're forced to send one of your tanks. You end up having Fraggy or Poco getting onto the point, and then you have Sabiel B and the tank for NYXL there on the point, just putting down a ton of damage on that single target.
The objective is
Dropping onto the point again, this is dangerous. There's already 2 ticks. The Fusion can't just let Saviobi do this. Stand around, cheekily look in their direction while he captures their point away. The self-destruct dropped on, gonna force at least a disengage from Saviobi for the time being, but Arc falling at the start of the fight is a very good omen. That's a better one. Carpe picks up Saviobi, he drops down, and the kills are coming through for the Philadelphia Fusion. A minute 25 on the clock, and the Excelsior must come up with an answer.
Let's see what NYXL's working with in terms of ultimates here. You have a self-destruct from Meko, and that's about it. You know, this next fight, Neptuno's going to get close to Valkyrie. I think for NYXL, you just have to go quick, really put a lot of pressure on him, maybe force that Valkyrie out. Then you come into that final fight with Valkyrie and Trance, most likely a Dragon Blade. And then you're in a good spot, or a realistic spot, to take this point.
You've got a minute to charge a Dragon Blade. Average is like 90 to 100 seconds, I think, from 0. You know, for most top players. So Libero should have it if he needs it. Carpe, give that infra side as well. Make sure no one's going to creep out behind him, but he's looking for Jonak. He does on the sidelines, but it doesn't matter. Shadowburn's dealing so much front load of damage, and Saviobi can't handle it in the heat. Now the self-destruct. This is purely to force Carpe away and pressure out the people playing from the low ground, and it seems to have worked out for the Excelsior. They get themselves some alone time with the rest of the Fusion without the Widowmaker in play, and now it gives them the edge. Neptuno's forced into 2 reses. It's Boombox and Poco back up on their feet, and Carpe now needs to rejoin the fight. Someone's shooting him from behind, but he doesn't have the time to pay any heed to that. He needs to get the work done, but as he falls, it's Libero there to collect himself a brace of kills. Both the Mercy and the Widow, and now the Excelsior have got wheels on the bus.
Neptuno, you know, he uses one of the reses on Poco, and then you probably want to get Fraggy up, right? But they play to get Boombox back in the action because he's getting close to that Transcendence, where Poco could have stayed on the point a little bit longer. Then you use the Transcendence, you have your main tank come on in. It's like one of the difficult, decisions that Mercy has with her kit. You get the double res, it's who to use the double res on.
This is the weight of ultimates, right? A double kill with the Dragon Blade plus a pulse bomb kill plus getting 2 players resurrected up. It's a player shift of 5. Gives you a huge swing in that fight. Libero on the high ground. He's actually might be time to dive in here. He thought about hitting the back line, but he's happy enough now just to wait for the opportunity presents itself, and Poco comes out of nowhere. Libero more than happy to drop down. Shadowburn trying to climb the wall. I don't know where he was heading. No weapon swing to the next building, unfortunately, and here it is, Libero, the clean up crew.
And we haven't seen like Libero really kind of go off on the Genji, we've seen him been playing recently, but no, right now, 17 eliminations, 15 final blows, finishing off a ton of kills as Genji here, as NYXL getting very close. You see the golden box of victory in here.
It's almost impossible for them to get there at this stage. 3 meters, actually have one on the point there as well. I think it was Carpe that bought enough time here for Fraggy to get there. Now the Primal Rage's going to come out. Meko cut down by a swift strike, and Jonak, who's he looking for? He almost dooms Shadowburn. Quickly the Transcendence comes in to keep Shadowburn alive. It's the lifeline the Fusion needed. Savior will be down. Jonak forced back, knows he needs to respect the Winston that's on top of him, but he gets slammed down. The Ninja now getting real serious. Shadowburn buys his team a stay, perhaps, of execution, at least a chance to take a breather.
Minute and 10 to go. Philadelphia will end up with their own Dragon Blade. The Shadowburn at 85% of the way. He's going to build that up very quick in the beginning of this next fight. And then Neptuno with his Valkyrie. We'll see how NYXL decides to respond here. They'll have Valkyrie, which you could use to obviously, provide a lot of healing. Jonak will get that Transcendence. You layer that support ult with maybe this Dragon Blade from Libero to seal the deal.
Libero, again, probably looking for his entry point now with that Dragon Blade. He'd love to clean up Neptuno early. He probably has a good feeling. Looks like it's party time, though. Janus going in here. And Libero's still not sure about where he wants to jump on. They've lost Janus early. He's going to be forced to res. The Excelsior need him at full strength. And Boobox now is going to be threatened. 1 slash and 2 would get the job done. Libero lazily almost just breaks the blade across the Omnic Monk, and now the self-destruct will force him to take refuge inside the bubble. It works out. He's able to stay alive for now.
Oh, and they have a Transcendence. This is looking great for NYXL. Shadowburn uses the blade. The Transcendence comes out. There's not much he can do there.
Carpe on the point, though. Trying to keep this one stalled out. It's just him, though. He's forced to leave it. A close one, to be sure. But this is New York's house, at least for the time being. The Excelsior take map number 1.
Look, it's a very close map number 1, but I think if you're an NYXL fan, what you really like to see from them and what you saw from them in that first map is just a better use of their ultimates, layering them together. A lot of times over the last few weeks, the one kind of thing you were nitpicking on with them is that they kind of use their ults kind of willy-nilly, just kind of throwing them out there. Yes. This time, though, they looked very clean.
Well, New York looking to extend their record to 5-0. The Fusion definitely looking for a win after battling through the last couple of weeks. Not the best way for them to start off the map, but we have incredible matchups between our DPSs, tanks, and supports. This match has got everything, so stick around and we'll see if the boys in orange can bring things back and make it a series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
Liftoff on Apollo 11. Power clear. All right, liftoff and the clock is started. Yes, sir. Reading loud and clear. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower clear.
introduce the NYXL.
A lot of very good players.
It's a team that's on another level.
우승을 할 수 있는 우승이 가까운 팀은 바로 저희입니다. 왜냐면은 저희는 아무리 지거나 밀렸어도 다시 한 번 더 일어날 수 있는 용기가 있기 때문에.
This is the most clinical we have seen the Excelsior so far, hands down.
Their beef is the funniest. He just makes the team to laugh.
He just lights up an entire room. He's a fantastic player as well.
그래서 저는 팬들이랑 의사소통하는 걸 되게 좋아하는데 자리에 앉아 계실 때 저랑 눈이 마주치면은 제가 아주 즐겁게 반가워해 줄 거예요. 뭐 이런 걸 해준다든지.
That was a dominant performance from New York.
이루고 싶은 팀적인 목표는 시즌 1뿐만 아니라 시즌 1, 시즌 2, 시즌 3까지 쭉 우승을 할 수 있는 그런 뉴욕 팀이 되고 싶습니다.
This has been their most convincing victory.
Well, in the same way, of course, as many people speak about New York and the motto of the city, ever upward, have the NYXL been thus far? And this would be their latest challenge, of course, on their way to the top of the Overwatch League in 1. It looks like they're up to the task, man.
Yeah, now map 2 in the series will be the Temple of Anubis. No substitutions on the side for the Philadelphia Fusion. For NYXL, they'll have Mono come in, so he will play the main tank for this roster in map number 2.
Yeah, so perhaps the more expected permutation of this roster, at least in terms of that main tank. We've seen, you know, Giannis in the mix a couple of times, so even on that Reinhardt, of course, but both he and Manu are quite capable of it. And it was said, you know, Manu was the player that we saw in that South Korean World Cup team instead of Miro because, and I quote, he was more aggressive.
Yeah, so expect a little bit more aggression, obviously on Temple of Anubis right now. When you go in towards point A and especially point B, you really need to be aggressive. We see so many teams just kind of get picked at the chokes and not really able to make much progress. You know, and then when you're aggressive, right, that's when the positive things start to happen towards point B.
So things are on the lookout here in this particular map. First of all, it's Philadelphia being able to respond to it like a solid defensive setup. You know, whether in the first half or the second, we saw them struggle against the Spitfire to make changes to their composition to deal with that anti-dive high ground setup that the Spitfire had. If the NYXL go for something similar, then the Philadelphia Fusion must identify what's going wrong and make an informed decision to correct it. I like it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't stop there.
I wonder on defense, you know, when we get there for NYXL, if we see, you know, them play a little bit of a slower, you know, composition like we see with the Orisa and the Widowmaker up on that high ground. With Mono in the game, they can play very aggressive, so maybe you see them just play a little bit more, you know, divey, play closer towards that choke, not let them come on in.
Interesting to see. It will be NYXL to defend first up. So, one thing I've been wondering and maybe hoping to see, and we're not going to get to see Horizon again play between these two today, but you know, Neptuno was so well known for being one of the first real adopters of Sombra and one of the best at actually making that one work out really well. Now, that's something that we saw on Movistar Riders back in European Overwatch before the Overwatch League even was conceived.
I mean, Summer's a pretty popular pick on point B here as well, so maybe you could see them do something where they drop the Zen, Boombox goes over to a Mercy, and then you have Neptuno play the Sombra towards the second stage of the map. But NYXL on defense, you talk a little bit about it. So they actually go with the Orisa plus Roadhog combination. Interesting though, they're not set all the way up on that high ground that we usually see. They're going to play a little bit closer here on the bridge.
So it feels like they want to be more controlling. They want to deny a lot of the real estate away from the Fusion that standing up on the building behind them to the right on screen would actually generally grant them. They want to make sure the Fusion don't even get in through the front door. But the boys from Philly have got other plans. There's going to be that full dive composition. The classic. Of course, it's going to be Carpe Shadowburn, Genji Tracer. So again, aggression is the name of the game. Not getting picked off by a ball and chain combo early would be great. Also not giving Libero a riptide before they even start the fight. That would be good too.
You know, Shadowburn and Carpe with the mobility, you see they've actually gotten through this choke, but the rest of the members of the Philly Fusion are really worried about Libero on the Junkrat. They just dive right in.
Digging it. A lot of big bodies though, Matt. Very, very hard to take anyone down. Jonak had enough protection and healing to survive that one. So both teams sort of, you know, fairly respectfully now back away. Ground has been taken by the Fusion though. You can see Shadowburn's playing back of the point. He and Carpe, dynamic duo, devastating in their ability to break apart back lines.
Yeah, the members from the Philadelphia Fusion are so split right now. You have Carpe and Shadowburn behind enemy lines. You have Poco who just actually gets hooked and demeched. Out in the front, Neptuno builds up to a Valkyrie right away. see if they can kind of collapse here on the members of NYXL.
They're lacking a tracer, and I don't think Neptuno can go and get the res. I think it's likely that Carpe went down deep in enemy territory. He did, but he's going to get rezzed up regardless. So both Fraggy and Carpe are back, and now the party's going to get started. Shadowburn in over the top, Savior will be down. Now Arc needs to be the one getting Resurrects in. He's gone for the Valkyrie of his own. Shadowburn now just charging up that Dragon Blade from taking down a few tanks. And you know what? He's going to be happy enough with just that. They've forced out the Valkyrie. He has a Dragon Blade. And they're going to head out.
Well, NYXL uses their Transcendence there. So that's huge for the Philadelphia Fusion. They'll come back with a Dragon Blade plus Transcendence of their own, knowing that there's no support ults on the other side. But, I mean, you do have a Riptire from Libero that could be devastating towards that Dragon Blade.
Transcendence doesn't save you from a Riptire. You don't have a Resurrect to cover that over either. And losing Carpe early, this is the pick composition. It's so scary. Here's the frightening reality of it, right? Holt into Hook, into either Concussive Mine or Widowmaker Headshot. Both are easy to hit on a target that's suspended in mid-air on the end of a chain. There's so much potential. This is the ultimate pick comp from the NYXL.
And they changed their positioning up for a second NYXL did. Now they've moved back to something a little bit different. So they actually had Libero in that far right, where we saw Shadowburn and Carpe go, just denying access with a lot of damage.
Oh dear.
Well, that's the hard part when you dive in, right? When you dive in with the Winston and the D.Va, there's nobody that can kind of, bring Boombox into the action in the back playing the Zen. He's just an easy target for Sabiel B to pick off. Mono drops the supercharger here, so it gives everybody the damage boost.
The beautiful part about this composition is that with Sabiel B playing Widowmaker, he's not actually going up against a Widowmaker on the side of the Philadelphia Fusion. So he doesn't have to sit behind the Orisa shield, and his whole team doesn't have to cater so much to protecting him. Because the Fusion, to get to Sabiel B, need to get past the big main tanks in their way. And Libero now is just going to slow things down yet again. This could shave time off the clock. He doesn't find a kill, but he definitely gives the Fusion pause for thought before even attempting to try and make a foray inside of this early compound here.
Philadelphia does have both of their support ults in this Dragon Blade.
Oh, no.
Jonak.
He knows. He knows! Oh, Neptuno's forced to use the Valkyrie there just for the mobility and he gets away, but now they need to make use of that Mercy ultimate. Meko backing away, taking a breather, but he's being pressured from behind. Maybe an overextension. He thought he had a Mercy for free, but instead all he gets is a bunch of bullets in his back, and now the Resurrect is there. Neptuno with having to, of course, using the Valkyrie early on. NYXL, a small error, but a critical one in judgment at that, and Carpe comes through to find that kill. Libero down, and they may have given over the point, and I believe they have. That's gotta hurt.
And with a few fights that go by where NYXL was able to win with relative ease, their support's not really able to build up back towards their ultimates. Too quick. Jonak getting close towards a Transcendence now. Same with Arc towards a Valkyrie, but
oh man.
Now you still have this Transcendence on the table for the Fusion. Did they try and go aggressive here? Get a cap.
I mean, you've got a team with Carpe and Shadowburn on it, so there's a good chance that they're going to try and jump on and be aggressive themselves. Pulse Bomb's there for Carpe, is ready to use it, but they've lost Boombox and Neptuno. Both supports, both healers out of the picture. And there's no way the rest of the Fusion are going to be able to hold up in a protracted engagement without that critical healing. Back away. Deep breaths now as the Fusion start to bank some ultimates into the next fight.
Yeah, Arc does end up using his Valkyrie during this fight. We can just take a look at the positioning from all the players on both sides of the action. But by that main archway, they left Boombox one-on-one against Sabiel B right at the beginning. It's kind of a lot like you saw in the first time there. Boombox just getting picked out of, not really out of position, right? He's just in that one-on-one Tracer versus Zenyatta battle, especially against a like Sabiel B. It's going to be very difficult to win.
Okay, first step done. Fusion knock on the door. They're on the threshold now as they make their way through. They've dealt with the Winston and the Tracer on the high ground, and now it might be time to party. Poco's thinking about it. He knows Fraggy's in there on his own for the moment, and he does need to help, but Manu's been taken down by a Pulse Bomb. Arc doesn't have that Valkyrie at all, so it's going to be a far longer res to get. He may not have the opportunity to do so either. Fraggy's brought back to life, though. He's often the first casualty for the Fusion, but getting him back on the battlefield is critical at this juncture. Now it's going to be the Transcendence over the point. Poco is going to come down and find Meko with that self-destruct. Not much that Meko could do. And now Boombox has some space, finally in a position here to give that healing, the Discord Orbs and the damage. Oh, someone's messed up, Jonak! Head first into Shadowburn with the Dragon Blade out, and Shadowburn's not done yet. Back to his team for a little bit more healing. They're so close, Matt. Libero falling now as well. This might be it for the Fusion to break in.
Yeah, Libero uses the Dragon Blade there, tried to get Arc flying into the point with him. Philly so close. Sabiel B with a kill on a Poco. Some kills coming in here for the Philadelphia Fusion. Mono, though, with his Primal Rage, should be able to stall this out a little bit for New York.
Boombox very low there. It wasn't much he could do. Sabiel be able to push him out, and the New York Excelsior, they've recovered to a degree at least. Jonak being down, they're still pressuring the point. This might be the comeback here, and maybe Shadowburn with the dash in. That's it. They've done it. A fight that looked like they weren't going to win. But all it takes is a couple of picks, and Shadowburn, just gets a Swift Strike onto both the enemy Tracer and Genji.
Yeah, and those were the two players that were actually had the responsibility of contesting the point for NYXL. Mono with the Primal Rage, he goes to push more players out from the Philadelphia Fusion through the main archway, through the main choke. He's just knocking Poco back, waiting for some of the other players to come on through. But when Shadowburn takes out both Libero and Sabiel with that dash, there's nobody there to contest the point for NYXL.
Solid statement being made early here. And it's important that the Fusion have themselves a time bank. Now they can try and test the measure of NYXL on that attack. And we saw, in my opinion, Matt, quite a confident sort of defensive setup there from New York. They don't play up on the building. They don't play high and dry and super safe and, you know, in their own little zone. They actually play quite far forward and say, no, we're not going to allow you to even get in position to set up on us. And they eventually were going to be pressured back by the dive, the relentless dive from the Fusion.
I think NYXL would love to have that first fight back on point B when Arc ends up using the Valkyrie, and they don't really get a ton of value out of it because the fight is, you know, pretty much over at that point. You know, Philadelphia, they just back on up. They have both their support ults, Valkyrie and Transcendence, for that next fight, and they have Dragon Blade, and that's the fight that really kind of, you know, it took a while after that. They didn't take the point right away, but it's really what set everything in progress too.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like the Fusion have changed their mind. They initially looked like they wanted to have everyone up on that high ground, but for now it's just Fraggy. So it's likely it may just be Carpe, Fraggy, and Neptuno up on the top of that building. Obviously Shadowburn and Poco can get up there themselves, but Boombox cannot.
Well, what you can do is you can have, you know, Fraggy, Neptuno, and Carpe up on the high ground, you know, with that Orisa shield, letting Carpe get a ton of free damage. And then on the opposite high ground, towards that right-hand side, you can have Shadowburn and Boombox. Gives Neptuno a pretty easy target to get away from.
We see that very cheeky little trap and concussive mine set up there for Shadowburn. He's hoping to, you know, if NYXL are not respecting or not expecting the gyro, they're going to get caught just like that one. Mano's not going to get taken down, though, by the mine. Actually, I think he might have just lashed it a little bit with his testing gun when he came in, but Carpe's found Libero early on, so no Genji to start with for NYXL.
Yeah, Libero is trying to go all the way around that backside. They actually, Carpe takes out Jonak as well, so you're going to have to wait here. NYXL, their first push, stopped by two nice shots from Carpe, but they are setting up, so they do have Saviel B up on that high ground on the right-hand side. When you take a look from Carpe's POV,
So they attempt to res this one, and Carpe knows that surely someone's going to be bringing up the rear. He sees Jonak just peek. Jonak again, plucky lad. A lot of confidence on him there to try and take out Carpe. Got to respect that a little bit.
So what they actually did there is Fraggy actually connects with a halt onto Jonak as he has actually tried to go on through, and they connect with another shot. It's going to force another res here.
No one can hide from
Now they know that Sabiel B is behind him, so Sabiel B was trying to get this position, and then they would have Mono jump up right on a Carpe, and they're just trying to finish him off fast.
Carpe now at his leisure to really just go from platform to platform like Tarzan right now. The grappling hook cooldown is significantly reduced, so if he does need to get back to the bulk of his team, he can, but now he has a much better sight line. He can watch the right side of the map, and now it's going to be a grappling hook straight over there. Someone's eating his poison mine, but it might not be the most important part right now. As you can see, the Mono attempts to get damaged up with a bubble dropped on top of the Fusion, protected them from the elements, and of course, the flailing fists of the Winston.
Oh, some sick shots here from Carpe. Ooh, gets Jonak low, he's going to challenge him, he gets him weak. Now Carpe, he's pretty low himself, so he's just trying to hold on for his dear life as Sabiel B working behind enemy lines. He'll take out Riptire as Carpe finishes off Jonak. So that was actually a pretty nice strategy from NYXL, just better plays there out of the Philadelphia Fusion. They actually sent Meko up with his map towards that top right. That forces the movement out from everybody on that top right high ground over to Fraggy on the left. And then Meko, midair, as soon as he gets those players to commit, turns, uses his defense matrix, and then they try to dive on in. Just didn't work out.
It does look at the time, though, that Manu had bounced off of Poco, who must have, you know, used his rocket boosters to push him off that high ground. So the Fusion have plenty of disengage ability, even if they get jumped on that high ground. And Carpe knows he sees all right now. In Carpe Veritas, they say.
And this is the infrared sight from Widowmaker, just forced to wait so long from the offensive side, because, you know, it gives that vision to everybody. There'll be Valkyrie used by both sides here. Boombox not yet towards a Transcendence. We'll see if this fight you even need it here. The Philadelphia Fusion are just picking up some more kills.
Almost a scary moment there for Carpe. I thought he was going to get pressured by Libero, but Poco actually found him with that self-destruct. And now, this is pretty close range, Carpe. I think he might be biting off a bit more than you can chew, son. Meko getting aggressive, though. Carpe forced him just to mine down and give it a bit of space, but get another Riptire coming in. The Transcendence won't save them against that one. And you can see the Primal Rage was forced by Manu. He was worried he was going to go down. Supercharger now for that high ground damage control. It looks like they've got all that they need with Sabiobi falling down. That one was from Russia with love. Shadowburn is killing it on the Junkrat.
And Libero uses his Dragon Blade here, trying to pick up some kills. Has not been able to find anything just yet. Is JJoNak and Meko, though, taking out Poco here as NYXL gets on the point. They've gotten one tick. Be a self-destruct from Meko just to get his mech back.
Yeah, Carpe, they're really a little bit too close. Hook, line, and sinker. He was caught. Neptuno to fall now. High ground control is all that the Fusion have, and that's not going to last for very long either. Boombox surrounded by enemies. He eventually is cut down, but look at the clock. Look at it. Look at the clock. 4 minutes and 13 seconds left. So Philadelphia holding on for a couple minutes. There'll be even Stevens in this game. Let's see if they can hold out, because that Mercy ultimate is there for Arc. Valkyrie is in play, and it's going to give the Excelsior a little bit more leeway if they want to get aggressive now.
NYXL is going to gain a little bit of information when they see the comp changes coming in from the Philadelphia Fusion. You know Shadowburn is swapped, Carpe and Fraggy, so you know those players don't have ults. You're really just worried about support ults and Poco with a self-destruct. If you're NYXL, they've earned themselves both of their support ults. Libero already getting close to yet another Dragon Blade. See if Sabiobi can kind of work, try and find some angles, get behind enemy lines. So here on point B of Temple of the New
Break it down.
is so difficult as Fraggy goes in a little bit too deep. Let's see if NYXL can capitalize on this.
Sabiobi, Pulse Bomb dropped in now. It's all coming up. Oh, it's coming up pretty well for the Excelsior at this stage at the very least. That was Carpe's Pulse Bomb, I should say. Didn't claim a kill though. The Valkyrie from Arc is in play. Libero is hunting. Shadowburn he goes for. He's got a Discord orb on it right now. He might be the prime target. Get rid of that enemy Genji. Make sure that you are the king of the mountain.
Yeah, they waited out the Valkyrie from Neptuno, so that's why the push kind of comes in a little bit late here. It's going to be a self-destruct coming in from Poco, and he connects with Arc. Oh, that is brutal. It's going to be JJoNak using his Transcendence in this fight. They're trying to get onto Boombox in the back. They forced out Boombox's Transcendence.
Right.
Now it's just whether they invest a little bit more into this fight, as Libero does have the Dragon Blades. He's both supports. But everybody else falls. They'll decide to reset.
Now, as soon as New York lost Arc, it was purely a fight intended to draw out ultimates. As surely as the sun rises, Poco gets kills with self-destruct, and he found the perfect target to take the wind out of the XL sails. Libero could have used his Dragon Blade. He made a conscious decision not to do so because he knew the fight was already done. They did draw out their Transcendence from Boombox, though.
I mean, you use the Dragon Blade in that situation. You kind of have to have Mono use Primal Rage just to be able to stay alive. Yeah, there's a lot of other ultimates. You probably have to think about investing into it. Now it'll just be a war between these two Genjis. Now with the Dragon Blade, it'll be Shadowburn with one for the Philadelphia Fusion. Both Mercies getting up towards their ults very fast as who decides to use it first.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Libero there cops a couple too many shurikens, and Shadowburn has the Deadeye on that one. Mono also falls down, and once again, that will be another fight for the Fusion. And guess what? Now they are ahead. The NYXL have struggled to come up with the answers all the time. They lost in their first point. Now has manifested in them being about 15 to 20 seconds behind the Fusion's time bank. This is when now they need to start digging for that response, but there are 5 ultimates on the side of the Philadelphia Fusion, 5 on the side of the NYXL. This is when it gets real.
NYXL just really hasn't figured out a way to attack this point quite yet. It'll be Valkyrie
That's
used here
so
at the beginning,
huge.
and Carpe connects to the Pulse Bomb right onto Arc.
He had the
as soon as he
Valkyrie.
pops it.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. It's completely
devastating.
gutted the NYXL. That was the fight they really needed to win.
And that's massive. I mean, New York doesn't have to use any, Philadelphia doesn't have to use any other ults there besides that Pulse Bomb from Carpe to shut down that huge Mercy ult.
That is a bargain bin fight win. All they had to do, I'm
this
sure
is
this is going to be
sick.
pretty impressive. Carpe, like a butterfly, stinging like a Mack truck to the face. Beautiful. Bit of finesse there. That's what we'd like to see now with 50 seconds left. And YXL, something has got to give.
That is so sick. So now for Philadelphia, just get JJoNak to use that Transcendence, hold on to this blade, and end the game. So there comes that Primal Rage from Mono.
Pulse Bomb on Boombox, he's down though. It's going to be time for that Valkyrie, Matt. They need that Transcendence to be in play. Poco getting desuited, doesn't find a kill with the self-destruct this time, which is a rarity in and of itself. But Shadowburn is looking for a Dragon Blade target. He'd love to be rid of Sabiobi for the time being though. Carpe's down. Just Shadowburn to bring the DPS now. He needs to make the most here of the Transcendence. He's going to go in. Going to back it up with the Dragon Blade now. Carpe getting resurrected. Shadowburn looking for another one. Sabiobi's down. This is it. 12 seconds left in the round, and the Fusion have held through the heat. Mono to fall. This may well be it, Matt. 6 seconds left. Philadelphia Fusion stand tall. They've got it. Just the one player there. It's Meko trying to get to the point, but he's not going to be able to. It's one apiece now.
And that Pulse Bomb by Carpe is game-changing. When he's able to take out Arc, as soon as he uses Valkyrie, that is such a massive win for the Philadelphia Fusion, and that just that one fight at the beginning there forces NYXL to back up. They use that powerful Mercy ult, and they get absolutely nothing for it.
In the space of one day, two of the top teams in the Overwatch League have been shown not only that they can bleed, but some perhaps can be toppled. Will that story be repeated again here between the Fusion and the Excelsior? That's the question on everyone's lips right now. But Philadelphia have drawn it up to a 1-1 series. Control's just around the corner. We're going to get down and dirty with some brawling Overwatch. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
What is going on today? Another 1-1 finish as we go into halftime. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, here at the desk, and I am joined once again. We got Bren in Reinforce to walk us through all the action. Before we get to the highlights, I want to ask big picture. We saw London Spitfire earlier today fall at the hands of their opponent. Now we're seeing the other favorite team in New York XL coming into halftime, tied up 1-1, and they haven't looked as prime as they were in their previous matchups. Johnny, what's going wrong for this team right now, or what's going right for Philadelphia?
Well, it is an absolute brawl, and going into this matchup, we knew that Shadowburn and Carpe, I mean, they're insane DPS players. I think we highlighted every single player on the server prior to this matchup, and it just gives you an idea of the fact that there's so much, I don't want to say random stuff, but there's so much brawling and, you know, individual plays coming out and being the difference makers. We saw some Pharah versus Pharah, for example, versus on the first point here on Numbani, and it's just it just comes down to whatever Pharah wins the Pharah battle, if Shadowburn can get a good blade off, if Libero can be clutch, etc. It's the small things, and so far it's been very even.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed out beforehand that Boombox needs to step up in terms of his play to match JJoNak. You can see this guy right here. I mean, he's getting kills all over the place, but the difference is between Boombox and JJonak's play, I feel, is going to be their ult efficiency, their ult sort of usage. Boombox doesn't seem to be using his ultimates in opportune times in map 1 in Numbani. That was the real kicker for me, and that was the difference maker, to be honest. The support ult usage from New York Excelsior was a lot more clean, a lot more standard, whereas Boombox wasn't really stepping up too much. That was the real difference for me personally.
Johnny, when we were watching map number 1, we saw it was a really slow start here for New York XL. They do finally get the point in the final minute, and they're able to push the cart further than their opponent's Philadelphia Fusion. But I want to ask about Philly, because they have the upper hand in the time bank. They captured point A faster. Why were they stuffed in their attempt to get to point B?
I think Libero was the difference maker on the Soldier. We saw that Janos was the tank that actually New York favored in this matchup. And I think it's a similar approach to the other top 3 teams. I mean, we have Seoul Dynasty with Kuki, who's a bit more passive, and we have Miro, obviously, who's the aggressor. And all the top 3 teams have these similar 2 tanks doing 2 different things. So I think Janos is the more passive of the 2, peeling for Libero on the Soldier, of course. And then Libero is going to shut down the Tracer, so the Tracer can't reach the New York backline, and also shut down Shadowburn, so he's not as confident dashing in.
I like that you mentioned actually about the tank play and how these top teams have different sort of more aggressive, more passive tanks in general, and that's how they're coming out on top, because that was a big part actually. Janus's play style, it sort of counteracts Philadelphia Fusion in a lot of ways, because they're a team that like to set up plays with their DPSs getting into positions, and then the tanks of Fraggy and Poco, they start to sort of work around the DPS and start to try facilitating them to make big plays happen. And that wasn't quite happening because Janus is so on top of his game, when to dive in, when to reinitiate and whatnot in that first map.
So the tanks won the game for New York XL in the first one. Johnny says maybe, but
Yeah.
you were highlighting the supports. Bren, who's caught your eye so far?
Yes, so I mean, I was talking about Boombox, but in reality, the only support that really stood out for me was Ark, actually, and we've got a few clips just to show his general playstyle, but in general, he was playing very, very well with his Valkyries, making a lot of movements around the map. The heals were very good, and he prioritized his survivability over anything else. And I feel like it's crucial to point this out, because a lot of these Mercies, they can go unnoticed a lot of the ways. Yeah, they can go unnoticed in the maps quite often, and it's nice to point out Ark in particular, because he does prioritize the survivability, and he gets out significantly more heals than his counterpart on the enemy team.
Ark is quickly becoming a fan favorite. We'll take a look at some of his numbers. Impressive stuff coming in from a Mercy. Bren, real quick, you're watching at home, you're more of a platinum, maybe a gold player. What's the difference between a professional Mercy and someone that's in your ranked games?
Knowing when to glide in, for one. I mean, this is the biggest thing. Ark knows exactly when he's going to be going into danger when he's gliding to his teammates, but it's also having the teammates to support you as well. That's the biggest part. His teammates are always in position, so Ark can actually glide to safety whenever he's being pressured. A big part of the success of a lot of these teams is that interplay between the tanks and supports.
Now you'll notice one big number, and it's at the bottom of this graphic. These stats are coming from game 2, and that may be the difference maker. Let's go ahead and jump into the action to the map where Philadelphia was able to come back. After losing on Numbani, they were able to answer back on Anubis. And as we roll some of the highlights, it wasn't looking good for Philly in the first 3.5 minutes, basically. They captured point A, which is 17 seconds left on the clock. And Johnny, I have to ask you about this composition. Roadhog, Orisa, Junkrat, and a Sniper. What was the game plan for New York?
I mean, it is hard, right? You just want to peel for Sabiolbi on the Widowmaker, of course, so Sabiolbi can find the picks. And it just becomes a brawl yet again, because Philadelphia Fusion, they're playing with a Tracer on Carpe, so they want to take the fight around the point so that Carpe can pretty much be a fish in the, or a shark in the water, basically, just sniffing up anyone who drops down onto the point. But when you have a Widowmaker and you have a Junkrat, they're always going to stand up on the high ground. So it's a bit weird, because you have to force New York down. They don't necessarily want to go down.
We highlighted the DPS from Philadelphia Fusion, Shadowburn and Carpe, and basically every single match they have played, they were 2 massive factors for Philly's success. You saw Shadowburn leading the way on the attack, Carpe, some ridiculous defense on the Widowmaker.
Yeah, for sure. Carpe is one of these players where he can turn the tide of the battle with just individual skill. I mean, we saw the shots he was pulling off on the Widowmaker, on the Tracer as well. Incredible pulse bombs.
I mean, the pulse bomb,
you do not see that in general at all. But he really just pulled that game out for his team. off of his own back. He was carrying them through that Anubis game, and that was what the game was based on, basically. Me and Johnny were having this talk as the game was progressing. There weren't many sort of set plays we could pull from to talk about how good the team play was in general. It was mainly individual plays from Shadowburn, Carpe, turning up, getting the kills, and the crucial picks when needed.
Yes, and they got a crucial pick onto Arc as well when he popped the Valkyrie at the end of Point B offense for New York, of course. And because New York plays such a slow style, they like building up their support ultimates. I mean, that takes a minute of its own, of course. So when Carpe just comes in, gets a pulse bomb onto Arc, that's just a minute gone. And because both teams held Point A relatively well, you don't have the time necessary. And so New York were kind of caught off guard.
All right, well, we're currently tied 1 apiece now after our first 2 maps, just like last time. Let's see if you can get your predictions right one more time. Who's walking away with the victory? Is it the Philadelphia Fusion, or do you think it's going to be New York XL walking away with the W?
I'm sorry, it's New York.
New York?
No, wow. It's not going to be Philly. We're not going to see another Boston upset. It's not happening.
No more upsets today. What do you see happening?
I got to agree as well. I hate to agree with Reinforce, but it's true. It's, you know, it is the case. And I mean, we've got Pine. We've yet to see this guy come out, the big boss himself. It's going to be Control. We know how he turns up. And I mean, I'm feeling sorry for Philly, to be honest. They're facing up against Pine. He's going to be popping off for sure.
The boys still have faith. The map is going to be Ilias. We know it's going to be a show. Real quick shout out to all of the viewing parties for this matchup. Shout out to the guys in Philly as well as New York. Make some noise. Let us know on social media how the party is going. When we return, we'll find out who takes the lead in the Epic Series. Is it going to be the Fusion or will it be the Excelsior? We'll be right back. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
The Philly boys.
We see Shadowburn obviously play the Genji a ton. That's the hero he's known for. How much talent is on this team?
Shanghai Dragons walking in like a boss. Hey, wow, really committing to this.
Poco gets 3. It's a self-destruct bonanza. What a spectacle.
Oh, but the kill's coming back around for the Shanghai Dragons.
Huge. The Philadelphia Fusion. What a strong start. Well, you'd be forgiven if you thought it was Shanghai versus Philadelphia, but you'd be wrong. It's a New York Excelsior going up against the Philadelphia Fusion, and my, it's been quite the match, Matt. What a piece here between these two. Control was the comeuppance for the Philly boys.
The chat was probably going crazy. They thought Shanghai was going to enter here for map 3. No, we just have Janus coming in and Pine for NYXL in this matchup against the Philadelphia Fusion. So you bring in big boss man Pine here for Control. Excited to see what he can do for us today.
That's right. So Janus back in the mix here as well, but it's your boy! Pine's back. Now we know things are getting serious. You know what? I want to see him come out. I want this in the break. I want him to get in like a throne with wheels on it, right? And I want someone to wheel him in like Hannibal. And I want him to look at the enemy team and sit down and just like slowly scan through the crowd and then start popping off.
Yeah, he should have like a solo entrance for Game 3. Like the music hits and he just walks out from the back.
Just like AC/DC start kicking off in the background. I want that.
I was thinking more like Stone Cold, like the glass breaks and like it's like who's that? It's Pine.
That'd be fun as well.
It'll be Ilios that comes up next here in this series. You see it's tied at 1 apiece. Temple of Anubis went over to the Philadelphia Fusion. I think it was a big win for them. And that play from Carpe, man, like, you know, Arc uses that Valkyrie. They're going to use it to get aggressive, you know, push into that back right. Maybe you force out that Transcendence that was on the table for the Fusion as well. Such a huge kill there with that Pulse Bomb. There's nothing they could do about that. Yeah, just a tremendous play from Carpe.
And we saw it after the fact as well. So when we go back and see it, we can actually grasp just how meteoric it was. And to be fair, I probably just straight up won the game because Arc had already used his Valkyrie at that point. It wasn't like, oh, we'll have to use the Valk next fight. No, it's like, oh, I've just used Valk, I haven't raised anyone, and we're in deep, deep trouble.
And it's such a difficult like maneuver to pull off, right? Because he's blinking 3 times as Tracer, getting close to the Mercy, predicting like where she's going to glide or who she's going to glide to, and then just like flicking it up at that direction and then hitting the recall to get back to the position up on the high ground. Just an absolutely nuts play.
It's harder than, well, yeah, mechanically, it's very
mechanically,
it's harder than, yeah, playing your favorite anime theme song on OC on Insane Difficulty. There you go. How about that?
As hard as that, yeah.
Yeah, that hard. Done that before, Matt? What's your favorite? No, never mind.
No.
I won't go there. It is real, though. I know you watch it.
No, I don't.
You definitely do. You look like
our guild motto.
I've seen the way you run around. You look like a particular ninja from a particular anime, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Mendo, as our guild leader, has dubbed us that anime is real.
Yep. He's told us.
I knew you were waiting for that to enter a broadcast. Pine playing Widowmaker here, going up against Carpe.
It's gonna be tougher to sneak past Pine than past Mayfair and Parkway with hotels on the map. It's gonna be rough. This guy has eyes all over the battlefield. I'm gonna try and set up in probably the best position again. Get some early damage, put pressure on the Fusion is the plan. Oh, that was real cheeky. You see that? The grappling hook used from behind. So Pine couldn't see Carpe go up. He come down from a different angle. That's real nice. I like it.
It's really interesting, the position that you see Pine playing from on the Widowmaker. A lot of times we see players up on that high ground playing very aggressive lower towards the point, and the SabielB who ends up falling early to Carpe. Now we'll see the push starting to come through here for the Philadelphia Fusion, trying to put some pressure on the Pine in the back. He lands a shot onto Carpe, but just not enough. The rest of the members of NYXL falling on the point.
Yeah. While we're spending all this time watching Pine, I guess so with the rest of NYXL, because the Fusion have managed to blindside New York, and they've made their way forward.
How many times have we seen on this map the Widow versus Widow battle really kind of dictate who takes this point? It's like when the enemy Widow is just picking off yours, you just have to wait for such a long time. You know, maybe you burn the res on her, then she drops again. There's really nothing you can do. I mean, look at how much time has gone by here. You know, they get that first kill. You know, Pine has to back up. They kill Mono, and then they're forced to back up yet again. Janus.
It's almost like Philadelphia are happy to just accept that, you know, Pine is going to be a factor, and then just try and work around it and deal with the other threats, because there are manifold threats on this particular side, of course. And the Excelsior now trying to get a bit aggressive here into the back line. Neptuno down early. Pine's found him, so amongst the ruckus, it was the Mercy scalp that was picked out.
Well, if you can't get the other Widow, you may as well go for the Mercy. It'll be Carpe taking out Pine. As Joan actually uses Transcendence on the point, just trying to flip this one in NYXL's favor. The point's still controlled here by the Philadelphia Fusion. It'll be Meko using his self-destruct, and It's actually Neptuno coming back from the spawn. He's going to use his Valkyrie. He's going to bring Fraggy back up. You know, Poco using his self-destruct should be able to... Oh, he gets taken out before he gets back into mech. Oh, they're going to res him, so they're going to use that res on the D.Va. Such a dangerous target to res because she's got to get back in the mech.
Should be a one fight here, though, because Arc actually was taken down by Carpe as that fight went down. So just the one Resurrect really committed to that one there. I think we saw quite a lot of ultimates in general, though, coming out from the Fusion. How they remain controller. This is important! No, that was important. If Shadowburn had stayed alive there and managed to land another pulse bomb on someone from the backline of the NYXL, this round could have been over. JJoNak may have just kept New York fighting fit here on Ruins.
New York does have their Valkyrie. Arc has to be very careful, though, not to get picked by Shadowburn in the sky. Don't have to worry about it now. It's going to be Pine taking out Neptuno in Carpe to open things up. The point will be a 99% towards the Philadelphia Fusion. NYXL will flip it back in their favor, though.
You see what happens there? Shadowburn is no longer able to pressure the backline of the NYXL. So Pine has so much space because Fraggy can't go it alone anymore. Then Pine steps up, gets a bunch of kills, and then just goes ham. He's found Carpe to start the fight off. That's what I'm talking about.
Now we'll see if the Philadelphia Fusion have to wait. They get a res on the Carpe. SaviLB just behind enemy lines here. So you don't see him on your screen, but he's over to that far left trying to land a pulse bomb. It'll be Poco launching a self-destruct. So maybe they try and engage on this.
Neptuno down, pulse bomb, that's a big one. SaviLB now getting a bit of revenge maybe against what Carpe was able to do to his team in the previous round. Now, this is some high-flying stuff here. Two trapeze artists going at it. Normally they don't battle each other. Today, it's a different kind of circus, Matt.
Yeah, NYXL is built up. Both of their support ults here. You do have the Primal Rage and a self-destruct on their side. For Philadelphia Fusion, Poco actually has a self-destruct now to use in this fight. Thought he may have used it in that last fight to try and engage. Didn't get it in time, so... see. Oh, it's going to be Carpe taking out Pine. We'll see if they go back to try and res this. Maybe use Valkyrie here if you're NYXL.
Okay, that's fine. They trade out though. Boombox is down there, so that could be even worse. Yeah, there's no way Fraggy's getting back from that one. SaviLB there can yank himself back over the precipice with that recall. It's gonna be Meko there going down, but that's about it. A solid fight for NYXL once again. It's 99-70. So at the death of it, NYXL look to be in a commanding position.
Yeah, and they don't have to use either of their support ults, does NYXL. So they hold on to their Valkyrie, they hold on to their Transcendence. It's going to be both support ults here for the Philadelphia Fusion. Carpe using the infrared sight. We'll see how they try and attack this with so much vision.
Got some ultimates here, man. That's the main thing, right? We've got the Valkyrie coming in from Neptuno. This could be the start of the fight that they need. Janus as well is going to be brought back, though, because Arc has done the same. And oh, dear! Bit of Pinky Blinders out from behind the pole. And two shots have been connected for Pine, but he's not done yet. He's going to be looking for more. And Neptuno's going to be the annoying mod for the pest control. May have been summoned here, just when it's required. SaviLB in the back. Boombox is low. Going to get a finish off on that one, and it's easy enough. Boombox is instantly brought back to life, but Carpe, blindsided, had to deal with SaviLB and Pine at the same time, and he fell to the former, or the latter as it were, of course, as Pine managed the shot on that Widowmaker. Shadowburn to fall here, but JJoNak and Meko did go down. This could be one in the balance. Overtime's ticking down as the Fusion we control the point. Bear that in mind. SaviLB has so much work to do right now. Pine's taken down. The last chance stands here for NYXL. That's it. First round of the Fusion. Not only do New York bleed, perhaps they stumble here as well.
Fusion able to bring it back towards the end. It was Carpe with 11 kills on the Widowmaker, 9 final blows to Pine 6 with 5 final blows. So Carpe doing a nice job in the Widow versus Widow battle. In our first stage of Ilios, probably will not see the Widow as we move throughout the rest of Ilios. So now, as we go over to Lighthouse, it looks like at least at the start here, you have Carpe and Pine both playing McCree. Shadowburn potentially playing the Junkrat. We have seen him play the Pharah on this stage, though.
So the question is Pine's Widowmaker going to be enough to bail the NYXL out of a compromising position? They're up against the wall, Matt. There's no other way to put it. Losing this map would put them at a potential risk of losing the series in that fourth map then and there. We'll see that Carpe's going to be matching him on his own McCree. That's definitely going to be a battle for the ages. One to keep an eye on. Both these guys incredibly talented, mechanically skilled individuals.
With how close quarters the point is, it's really going to be hard for SaviLB to get anything done in that back, because you're so dangerous. You're worried about Carpe on the McCree, and then you also have Shadowburn now playing the Junkrat. So I mean, Junkrat able to just take out a Tracer with any type of grenade or the mines. He takes out Janus at the beginning, so the res comes in for SaviLB, but you lose your main tank. So it'll be the Philadelphia Fusion controlling this first point. Now, how do you respond if you're New York?
You really just got to try and work around and find a pick of your own, Matt. It's the only way you open this fight up. It's so funny because, you know, Shadowburn often doesn't look like he's trying. You know, like he has a very stoic face, but it looks that much easier when he's just throwing out mines lazily on that Junkrat. So he's in the zone. He's definitely in his groove. And one of those, he found a free kill on Sabiel at the start of that fight, by the way, so that's just brutal. Shots being exchanged here, though, Matt.
And just look at the setup from the Philadelphia Fusion here on the point. You had Poco with the defense matrix guarding Carpe. You also have Shadowburn playing the Junkrat, just throwing down so much spam damage.
Okay.
Had a little bit of an open space. Doesn't matter, though. Pine connects with 2 with a Deadeye.
Now, being so low on HP, Carpe didn't have a chance to respond to the Deadeye. It would have been very easy to get the skulls. Just what Pine would have been looking for on that one. Shadowburn ripped high here, but I don't think he's going to have the safety to really have any space to use it. And no, Mecha makes sure he gives him a big old mech hug and sends him back to the Shadow Realm. 55% though. Second map in a row here on Ilios. Philadelphia has had a very good start.
Neptuno does use his Valkyrie, though, in that fight, so you won't have it here for the Philadelphia Fusion. Won't have it for a while. You see Pine playing this close corner, just waiting for an easy target to come around.
He knows that
to flash.
He knows that Carpe's trying to play really sneaky as well, right? We saw Carpe on the point there, just peeking out, just to get a shot here and there, reminding Pine that, you know, he might be the big boss, but Carpe's here to take his podium from him. See, this is what he wants. He wants an easy flash, an easy assassination. No! Carpe comes in with a flash to respond. Pine is shut down. It would have been everything for him to get that kill. The Philadelphia Fusion now set up to push back into this fight. Both Sabiel and Pine are down. All that needs to be done is move on to the point and capture it out. Janus now has had to use the Primal Rage here, and he does find Shadowburn at the very least. It looks like NYXL are trying to salvage this fight, but it's going to be a struggle.
They're going to use their Transcendence, and they have Valkyrie still up in the sky here. Sabiel B gets back into the action. Jonak will take out Carpe. We'll see if NYXL can just keep the point in their favor here.
I'm really impressed.
Looks like they may do it.
That's very impressive. They managed to recover there. We did see Janus use the Primal Rage just to keep things going. But that was incredible reaction time from Carpe. A very quick about face and a flash towards Pine to make sure he couldn't pick off their Mercy before the fight started.
And just the collapse from Sabiel B. The second that the flash comes in from Pine, he is right in Neptuno's face.
0 headshots as McCree so far. And you know it's important to be hitting those. Had a bit of a rough one so far. Carpe's definitely had the rules of roost for most part. But is NYXL in control? With Shadowburn going down, perhaps now our Gunslinger has an opportunity here to start to step back into these fights. Carpe also was dropped here. This is where NYXL get within striking or spitting distance of that 100% they're looking for so dearly. Poco's forced to demech here as well, get a self-destruct just to get back in. And Pine now, he's starting to feel it.
It's going to be very hard for the Philadelphia Fusion to get back towards the point here. It looks like Shadowburn on the Tracer. He will do it. You're going to have Valkyrie coming in here for the Philadelphia Fusion as Neptuno trying to get back towards the point. Not enough time. Lighthouse will go to NYXL, so we'll go over to Well to decide Ilios.
Okay, you know what? This is maybe what I've been hoping for in this series. We've seen now that the Fusion actually have, well, the bite to back their bark up when it comes to this map. Carpe seems to be more than happy to challenge Pine and try and beat him at his own game. And maybe this is not something that Pine's used to. You know, he's kind of used to getting subbed in and then everyone just kind of toppling over as soon as he enters the server. But he's up against a plucky upstart, a youngster in Carpe who wants to take the glory for himself.
It's interesting, in a 1-1 series here on Ilios, the kill disparity is, you know, pretty large. You have 98 for NYXL, only 57 for the Philadelphia Fusion. So when you look at that number, it's just a huge gap in terms of eliminations, but you kind of have to look at the deaths, right? It's 44 for the Fusion, 27 for NYXL.
Getting less kills, but also dying less. Perhaps overall just a less reckless approach. Now, interestingly enough, we don't see any sort of Pharah play from Shadowburn, so the Fusion are really quite settled on this one. Carpe does combine with Boombox to clean up Pine. Again, that's the first start. You know, deforestation's not a great thing, Matt, but here the Fusion want to put down a power plant.
See Jonak pushing on forward. He's got Meko with him, but it'll be Fraggy that just comes flying on into that side room. Able to take out Jonak. Still have the fight going on the point here. As you know, this point's very easy to just kind of keep contesting over and over and over again. As Carpe will get the best of Pine for the second time in a row.
And every time Carpe finds Pine in that kill feed, the pressure does mount. Clean little headshot there to clean Meko up. An easy target, of course. The Mini Diva wasn't moving. But again, for the third time running, the first fight has been won by the Philadelphia Fusion. Winning the first fight has not been their issue. It's been maintaining control of the point. They're going to have both support ults coming up quite soon, though. Jonak is a little bit behind. on his Transcendence, as you would expect.
He dies early, but he's going to take out Boombox at the beginning here, and Carpe uses the Deadeye. He just gets flanked by Saviel B there, so Neptuno's going to use that Valkyrie. We just see players just dropping instantly at the hands of Saviel B. It'll be Poco using a self-destruct over the top, clears out the point here for the Philadelphia Fusion. Arc will use his Valkyrie to bring Saviel B back into the fight, still has that second res.
Like Yogi Bear, not sure if he can go for the picnic basket or not, and decides against it. He backs away as Pine was channeling that Deadeye. Okay, so that generally shouldn't happen when we see the Philadelphia Fusion with 2 support ults there, but this is the thing. First picks in team fights are more important than ult advantage. And NYXL get 2 to start things off. There were too many people for Neptuno to resurrect, even with Valkyrie in play.
Yeah, once Jonak takes out Boombox, Neptuno has to use Valkyrie. He goes back to res. It just starts off like a chain of events, right? You have to panic a little bit when you lose the support so early. Saviel B is able to just kind of dart into the back line, pick up another kill. You see they'll get a D-Mech on Poco before anything happens. Pine, though, is taken out by Carpe yet again with another well-placed headshot from Carpe. It's really given Pine a lot of trouble in this battle.
Yeah, Frankie attempting there to prevent the resurrect. It was a little bit too late and then found himself head-to-head with 3 enemy players. Pine now, getting a feel for how far he can go, and he's found Carpe. That's the boost he was looking for, and NYXL once again take the round over midway through. They're building a lot of those ultimates here, and they're not being forced to use them. Philadelphia going in with 1, maybe 2 players. They're getting picked off. This is not what they're looking for at all, and they will be yapping at each other right now just to try and avoid this senseless loss of players as they press forward.
And NYXL, you see they're up to 60%. They have a lot of ultimates to extend this, though. So even if they lose a few players, you have that Primal Rage, you have Transcendence, you have a Deadeye to zone players out. So they should be able to hold on to this to about like 85 to 90% here in this fight. It'll be a Deadeye that comes in from Pine, trying to come on the flank.
Not gonna happen, Pine, you cheeky man. Of course, the Deadeye responded to by Poco getting in his face with that defense matrix. The Philadelphia Fusion, despite getting the first peak in this fight, have not made much progress. Now they're on the point. Pine's gonna be threatened here, but the flash is a good one, and Frankie gets caught down. Fan the hammer is good, and that's just as well, because Pine's feeling hot to trot. Frankie's back, though, on his feet. The Winston now gonna be a threat yet again for Pine, and he needs to try and avoid him as much as he can, but this is his optimal range. This is where he just performs at his best. And he's going to force everyone away with that Deadeye. 97% now. The New York Excelsior might have lost the first fight in all of these rounds, but it don't matter because they take control. Composure, Mac. They've got it in spades.
Yeah, they turn it on towards the end there of well. It was still a very close game. Extremely impressed with the way that Carpe handled Pine, back and forth. In that McCree battle, Pine starts to heat up there towards the end, but at that final point, well, once one team gets control of it, it's very difficult to get it back.
And it's quite clear to see now that there are far more dimensions to the NYXL than just bringing Pine in for a control map. Despite Pine being threatened, tested, tried, he was still able to have the rest of his team work around him. Of course, some moments from him, but all of New York stepped up in a big way here to try and slow down the Philadelphia Fusion. One more to come, potentially. We'll see you around the corner.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
3 maps down. Hopefully more than one to go if we're in the crowd now. We're hoping for yet another 5-map extravaganza. Well, Philadelphia Fusion have given you reason to expect this might be the case, Matt. It is a 2-to-1 scenario here with one more map left in regular time, but the Fusion have been looking spunky. These upstarts are here to play.
Yeah, all these maps have been very close between these two teams. The last map in this series will be Dorado. Just taking a look over to my left, we do have one sub that comes on through. It'll be Libero coming in for Pine. So you bring in Libero, you can play so many different heroes, potentially the Junkrat here on Dorado towards that first point. You can see him play the Genji as well. So two very good heroes for this map.
Now we've even seen him play a little bit of McCree on some Horizon maps. He was exploited pretty badly by teams playing aggressive dive against him. It's not easy really to find your optimal line, but of course Dorado is where this all finishes up. A map where Pharah is definitely a go-to. Both of these teams have it in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, Pharah as well. Wasn't even really thinking about the Pharah here for Libero, but Shadowburn on the side of the Philadelphia Fusion can play a very good Pharah.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, it was a time where we only talked about Shadowburn and his Genji.
Yeah.
There was also a time in the Tracer meta he played a heck of a lot of Tracer and then Pharah. Honestly, when it comes to, dive heroes like that, Shadowburn has got more class than a Canadian Tuxedo.
Yeah, and he's got a deeper hero pool than I think a lot of people think too, right? I mean, he's played a little bit of D.Va in the past. He's played a Zarya a decent amount. Remember on Hollywood, like first point, they would run Zarya play with Shadowburn, which was very effective. So most likely he will be playing the Genji. Why? Because he's just way too good at Genji. So you need that if you are the Philadelphia Fusion here, as it will be Philadelphia on offense first. For NYXL on defense, right now, looks like Saviel B will be playing Widowmaker and Libero will be playing the Junkrat.
A bit of a hush in the arena now as well, because we know it's quite a big question that is being leveled at the Philadelphia Fusion. Can you hang with the New York Excelsior? Can you hang with one of the top 3 teams in the league and potentially the top one? I mean, that's to be discovered. But they've been up to the task so far. And what I've been enjoying is that they've not been rattled. This is a veteran team on the side of Philadelphia, as much as NYXL is. These players have been around for a heck of a long time, many of them dominating in the European Overwatch scene, now here representing Philly. I mean, we didn't expect much from them. We didn't know what to expect from this team.
I was going to say, it was kind of funny, after the preseason, where obviously the Philadelphia Fusion were in here because of logistic issues, everyone was like super down on them coming in, like, oh, they're going to be like a 7th, 8th place bottom team. It's like, just look at the talent on this roster, top to bottom. Like, they are definitely a team that could contend for a playoff spot towards the later half of the year. But they'll have Shadowburn playing Genji, and you'll have Carpe, well, he won't be playing Genji for long. He gets taken out by Libero here at the beginning. May have sent in a trap with a mine there.
I'd say that's exactly what happened.
Carpe will be playing the Widowmaker, so you won't have the Genji Tracer combo. Carpe had a very good Widowmaker map up against Pine on Ilios. Now going to bring it back here on Dorado.
Carpe has already got himself so far around. This is a huge flank. It's going to take him an age to get here. He's on coast to coast on that one, so we'll see if he can actually pop out. All he needs is one pick from that position.
It's a long flank, and it's a better angle that he can take if Saviel B goes to that top archway. If you go towards that right...
Oh, he sees right through it! Straight through it, Carpe. Did not have an opportunity to get in there. Saviel B must have just spotted him, but perhaps he heard the clap of the, the boots on the ground.
Yeah, I was going to say you could go towards that right, the mega health pack up on the top and go towards that ledge, but it's such a difficult angle to hit, on that top archway, where he goes all the way on that long flank.
You got to get up early in the morning if you're going to pull one over on Saviel B like that. No doubt about it. But the Fusion is still going to press forward regardless. Barrier is being thrown down, but Fraggies has expired. They're contesting with an Orisa shield. So again, it's going to be quite an atrocious process.
And there's not a ton of damage to break this Orisa shield down, right? I mean, there's not like a Junkrat for the Philadelphia Fusion, as Libero just throws a mine, forces Shadowburn back. Saviel B will end him with a shot. Carpe, though, gets the better of Saviel B.
Oh,
it's going to be Neptuna using Valkyrie here.
Oh, he tried to get something with the micro rocket there. He knew he was low, but he was trying to make ends meet regardless. Get a bit of damage before he got desuited. Not bad. It's going to be a self-destruct here for Mecco. This might not count for much. He's already fallen to Boombox and hasn't really done much to halt the inexorable march of the Fusion forward. Transcendence there from JJoNak. Uncharacteristically, probably not timed very well there. He needed a bit more. He needed a few more teammates to capitalize, and now Shadowburn waits until it's done. Finds himself free.
They were using the Transcendence there to extend that fight a little bit longer so Arc could use his Valkyrie and then push back onto the cart. But as soon as Transcendence wears off, Arc doesn't decide to use that Valkyrie.
They knew they were done.
They knew they were done. They didn't have the teammates coming off of spawn to be able to hold it. Shadowburn uses the blade. At that moment, you definitely do not use Valkyrie. It'll be the Philadelphia Fusion advancing the payload past point A. Now we move on towards point B. And the Philadelphia Fusion have a very good comp here to try and get some of this high ground.
Carpe tries to go for a bit of a drive-by. Looks like NYXL had the insurance policy to cover it. Defense Matrix bailing them out of what could have been a pick situation, and Libero claims Poco's Meg with that Riptide. This is a bit of a nuisance here for Poco, and needs to blast away with a very underwhelming sidearm to try and regain his suit.
And this is such a difficult angle for Carpe to get these shots off on the Widowmaker. You see he's being forced back by Janus, but now Saviel B controls all of this high ground. So how do you play off this if you're Carpe? Going for
that
angle
was
here.
not as intended. Oh,
No, did not.
Libero's watching as well. He's like, haha, I did that first, except the other way around.
Oh, yeah. They go over the wall. That was sick.
For those that don't know, it was a great match. I actually don't know who was playing. It was Meta Athena back in season 2, I think? Season 3. Season 3. Anyway, Monty can correct me later on. Fragging out, Primal Rage coming in. Carpe again, he's trying to thread the needle. He's really setting himself some difficult homework. Just trying to boost up there with the hook for a split second and find a pick, and he hasn't got anything. Perhaps he just needs to, assess or manage his expectations and find some more consistent damage.
Well, now that his team's forced to fight on the payload, maybe he can go a little bit on the flank here, pick something up, but
he's fast.
Not able to find anything as he will drop at the hands of Libero. Libero just goes hunting for the enemy Tracer. Shadowburn here with another blade just cuts right through Saviel B. Now Shadowburn will back on up. Both support ultimates here for New York online. Don't have to use any of them just yet. Gonna wait for this Dragon Blade to come on through.
Have the Fusion run out of gas here. Or, to be more specific, run out of hydrogen isotopes to smash together at very high speeds and temperatures. But still, have they run out of gas? They've got double support here, who support ultimates, as do the NYXL. So it's going to take a bit more, maybe draw some out, maybe just win that fight out with some early picks.
They are moving the payload a little bit here. It looks like New York wants to let them come in underneath this choke. So you have Meko, who just keeps going on to the payload for NYXL, contesting it. Now the dive comes in. Janus gets behind enemy lines, forces out that Transcendence. They actually connect with a self-destruct there onto Neptuno, so you don't have the option of using the Valkyrie here for Philadelphia.
They were already behind in ultimates compared to NYXL at the start of that fight, and then they, had that Transcendence used a little of our Shadowburn. Oh, Shadowburn's on so cheeky. He's going to get the back cap. Meko's noticed it, but he's going to get desuited. He was probably one of the lower health players there. Finally, the Brigade has arrived, but at least Shadowburn's able to pull some of these players out of position. Now look at Philadelphia. They're going to try and wrap around here from the bottom of screen and try and make the play. Now that NYXL have been moved out of position somewhat.
They're going to use the Valkyrie here, so they definitely, this is the fight they're investing into. Poco will take out Meko. That's going to force the Valkyrie out from the side of NYXL. Neptuno brings Shadowburn back into the action. Shadowburn still with this Dragon Blade, has not used it yet. You know that Jonak has the trance. Carpe takes him out. Do they invest the Dragon Blade here?
I mean, if you invest the Dragon Blade, you know it's pretty much going to be a lost fight anyway, so maybe the Fusion are just biding their time and waiting for an opportunity, but Shadowburn's never going to have it. Saviel cuts him down as he tries to go deep for those cuts. And now it will probably come down to one fight. This is one of the hardest places to be stalled out as an attacking team. It takes so long to get back to the point. If there's an early pick here from the NYXL, it's all over. Fraggy needs to behave himself.
He cannot drop here first.
So
for the Philadelphia Fusion, yeah, it's such a long walk. Libero going to have a Riptire here as well. Maybe you enter with that Riptire for NYXL. See if you can get Shadowburn with it, potentially force out the slow res, right? Jump on to Neptuno. They'll even avoid having to use that Transcendence.
So much safety here for Libero and the rest of his support troop on this perch. Now he can just rain down a bit of damage. There needs to be a dive, there needs to be an initiation, there needs to be something for the Fusion, and there it is, Fraggy in. He's got Primal Rage, but he's been trapped, he's been taken down. Someone calls Cincinnati 2, it's not gonna work. That's gonna be it. And the Fusion failed to make that second checkpoint. Rough stuff. They had such a good start. And then they just seemed like they ran out of steam, and then the ultimate economy, it kept building against them. The XL always had more to work with. The Philadelphia Fusion went out to draw them out for them. Rough.
Catch a replay here from Shadowburn's POV, his initial Dragon Blade that opens things up. Goes right through Arc. Jonak here just hiding in the corner, pretty much knows he's dead. After that, I mean, it really just stalled out completely from the side of Philadelphia.
Shadowburn, silky smooth tones with that Dragon Blade. Yeah, no, kind of. There was almost a tone set early in that round. Carpe was not really able to have the impact he would have liked. You notice he switched over from that Widowmaker to the Tracer later on in the round, but again, not a high flyer for him. 2 final blows, 2 deaths, and that was up on that Tracer at least. So wasn't able to make a big impact when he came back into the fight. Frustrating, to be sure.
And was that the only Dragon Blade we saw from Shadowburn? We never really got to see him get a use of it there towards the end.
Well, you know my boy Shadowburn, right? He likes to...
Yeah, he likes to hold on to it for a little bit.
He's like the guy that gets the Easter eggs at Easter time and keeps them until November and then, you know, realizes when it's time to eat them that they're all grey and then eats them anyway. His name was Mitch.
I mean, that's the downside of being so patient, right? You're so patient. If you never actually force out that Transcendence from the other side,
again,
he never get a chance.
He just kind of knows. I think he's... A lot of players will tell you that it's worth a Dragon Blade being used to draw out a Transcendence, and if you imagine, it kind of is, right? Transcendence is like a huge ultimate, but Shadowburn generally prefers to use that in a way that he can win the fight, and there's no point often throwing that into a trans. He also wants to make sure he does it when he's not being watched, when people don't know where he is. He wants to be a very literal ninja.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you use the Dragon Blade, right, when the other team doesn't have the support ults, you win it. You don't have to invest any other ultimates into that fight for your team. So you use that Dragon Blade, obviously, to win that next fight and build up some more ultimate economy on the rest of the players.
Fraggy's got to be smarting. Definitely not going to be happy after getting caught in that trap at the end of the round. So he'll throw his weight around a little bit more now on that Winston. Carpe finds the first. Shadowburn's down. So, of course, favoring the attackers here. It's a very close distance to respawn back in. Now Meko's just trying to clear things out a little bit, get a bit of space around the payload. You can see that he's not going aggressive on the dive. It's a boost up, knocking people back, then returning to home base.
Yeah, I mean, even if the Fusion were to die right there on the payload when they jump on down, they'll still get a second fight back by the Fountain here, which is where the main fight will go down. The dive that comes in from NYXL, they go deep on a Neptuno at the beginning. It's going to be Meko throwing out the self-destruct. It'll be Neptuno using his Valkyrie here. Arc getting very close to a Valkyrie as well. He's going to pop it. It'll be Fraggy falling here for the Fusion. And beautiful play there by Meko to go back. He gets the call that Shadowburn just kind of toying with him behind enemy lines. Flies on back on D.Va, takes him out.
Please don't use Transcendence Boombox now. The fight is definitely lost. And he knows better than to go for it here. Fusion getting pushed back, and that's a beautiful fight from the Excelsior, by the way. I love it. I just love how Janus and Meko are able to forge ahead and create space. And you see the backline of the NYXL. They're just out there gaming. That's all they have to do. Sit there and get damage, of course. Players like Jonak. And we wonder why he gets so much damage. We wonder why this Zenyatta gets to get more damage than most DPS players. It's because the road to greatness is being paved by him, for him, should I say, by his tanks.
And I mean, also, you do have no Arc providing that damage boost a decent amount of the time to Jonak as well. So that's just providing...
Jonak has more damage than Sabiolby right now.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's just providing that extra damage. I mean, he doesn't even do like a ton of healing, right? Like we've seen some Zenyatas, crack the 10k mark in healing for games. Like the Jonak doesn't really get that much healing on the Zen. It's really all about that extra damage being dealt.
Libero does cop a Wayward Orb. Oh, Shadowburn follows up there as soon as he sees a low health player. That's it. It's like there's blood in the water and he's more than happy to follow up. Jonak down. This is good. This is perhaps where the Fusion start to take control of things a little bit more. Meko will be stalled out now if he doesn't able to escape. And ooh, Arc. Ooh. You know what? Selflessly trying to save his teammate, but again, he threw himself right into the scrutiny of 6 very angry Philly players.
So, Arc loses his life there towards the end. It's a good fight for the Philly Fusion, as now they'll control the high ground. Don't have the Widowmaker from that high ground, right? So it's just really going to be about the dive, constantly onto the payload for the Philadelphia Fusion, just deciding when they want to take this fight. And New York does have a ton of ultimates to use here as well, Mitch.
Philadelphia might be ready to start making some trouble in the neighborhood. They've got a lot of ultimates to work with now, and that aggressive defense has served them well prior. Fraggy's already pulling back though. There is someone in the back line. I'd say that's probably Carpe, as per usual, with the Harmony Orb. Keeping him healed, keeping him under pressure. Libero, definitely not time for the Dragon Blade yet. He'd like to get a little bit of verticality, maybe when he's out in the open. Back and forth stuff here. Meko and Janus are taking a lot of damage. Damage is being traded effectively between the tanks of both of these teams. That's the Dragon Blade time. It's time to party. Shadowbird's looking for it, but both teams are going to go here. And that's a lot of Iris going on, Matt. Double Transcendence being committed to this fight, and both Mercies are ready to go. So this might be everything used here.
So Neptuno still holding on to his Valkyrie. Valkyrie being used here by NYXL. And it's actually Libero who takes out Neptuno before he has a chance to use the Valkyrie. Libero going big with the Dragon Blade. Cuts through 2. And now that golden box of victory is so close for New York.
And Neptuno's going to be gripped with the realization that perhaps him dying to the Dragon Blade there may have lost the Fusion this match.
Well, Fraggy with Primal Rage should be able to get out here. The cart getting so close, needs to go soon. There comes Fraggy.
Fraggy jumping onto the payload here, but Sabiel's in the back. Let's sticks the pulse bomb. Massive. Now he's going to look for more, though. Boombox is immediately resurrected here. Neptuno knows they need this in the fight. But Sabiel, patient, as always. Waiting for Boombox again to make a mistake, but it's a couple of orbs sent back to Sabiel that makes him think again. Fusion here trying to set up properly. The Transcendence coming out in the fight. And Jonax's been doing so much work, but Janus is down to the pulse bomb, finds its target. Now Sabiel looking for the rest of... So I think it was Fraggy, I guess, inside the middle of that shield with a lot of HP. It looks like they're going to be able to hold. And Sabiel realizes that too, to back away. Everything happened so fast in that fight. Now they're going to give Meko a burial at sea.
It's very close here to completing the map for NYXL, but they end up using a lot of ultimates in that fight. Pulse Bomb, Dragon Blade, Valkyrie, Transcendence. Come back into that this next fight. You'll have Primal Rage of Self-Destruct.
They're going to go again. I mean, look at this, you know. Look at the Janus just drop onto the payload. Now the Primal Rage. This is actually giving me flashbacks to what Fraggy was attempting last round, except a lot less bear traps in the mix, I think it's safe to say. And Shadowburn poking with his shurikens has found his targets and done damage, but he needs to back away. Now the D.Va is casting a little bit of that damage in his direction. He needs to respect, and JoeNuck is so safe up here. Carpe's fell by the headshot. More damage to come, of course. This man has been outdoing his DPSs on multiple occasions.
I was going to say, the space that they have created for JoeNuck here on the high ground to just land discords, land some easy shots was tremendous by the tanks from NYXL. But it looks like this fight will go over to the Philadelphia Fusion. Janus still here, though, working for NYXL. He's just going to jump in, take out Shadowburn, backs on out. They get a second pick. Maybe New York can make something out of this. Oh, they lose JoeNuck up on the high ground, though. Carpe just darts up there, takes him out. 60 seconds left now, Mitch. You're going to have both support ultimates for NYXL. You're going to have Dragon Blade as well. Dragon Blade and Valkyrie for the Philadelphia Fusion. Can Neptuno get this Valkyrie off? Remember, he died to Livero before he got it off in the last fight. Needs to absolutely get it off in this fight.
He's been given a second chance at this. A chance of redemption. A chance to earn his halo and wings. Well, now Livero with the Dragon Blade, you know he's going to be looking for Neptuno again. Will history repeat itself? Neptuno would hate to think so. Shadowburn's forced to get out pretty quickly, though. Took a bit of damage. Livero now just being tickled here by Fraggy, but they're going to press forward anyway. New York Excelsior have a single-minded purpose to hold their gold. Carpe, can he recall out of that one? He does get healed up regardless, and now Fraggy going quite low. Needs to get up to safety, but it's not going to work out. Livero gives him the shuriken. It's going to be Janus going down, getting res, though. Both wizards are brought back into the fight. Now Livero, Dragon Blade timing out. Shadowburn might just have a bigger sword to swing around, but Libero's going to be brought back into the fight once again. All the Mercies have gone through their reses, and Sabiel needs the Hail Mary Pulse Bomb to stop, or at least get them over the line here. Transcendence for Boombox, it's in. Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect, and now up into the sky, it's going to be Janus going. He needs to use the Primal Rage here. There's no other option, but he's getting battered around the payload. He's getting knocking around just as much as he is doing the knocking. Overtime is going to tip down. The wick is burning. Is this happening? You better believe it. The Philadelphia Fusion are going to make this a map 5, Matt, and I couldn't be happier.
They end up holding on defense towards the end. That looked real dangerous for a while, but I believe it was Carpe, Fraggy, and then Neptuno coming in with the Valkyrie. They're able to win that one fight. Then New York just not able to push it the distance there towards the end. We will see yet another Game 5 here today.
Unbelievable. All this talk about our top 3 teams in the league, and in one day, at least one of them has been toppled, and maybe will the Empire State be the next? That's the big question. There's one more map. It's going to be Control. It's just around the corner. Don't miss it. What a series this has been.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
in the day already. We're only 2 games in. Blockbusters for all and sundry. And this one is getting real. Getting real, man. It's getting more real than video games. It's about as real as they get.
It's been a crazy day thus far. It's NYXL Philadelphia Fusion, Game 5 coming into the day. Probably didn't expect that. You know, I think coming into this final map, there are no subs on either team. So Pine not going to come in here for NYXL. You think Lijiang Tower, you want Libero to play, you know, heroes like Pharah, heroes like Junkrat, you know, Genji here on Lijiang Tower. That's why he stays in the game. If you want McCree, you can have Sabiel B play the McCree here.
Again, Pine probably had to head back into the dugout and keep petting his hairless cat. And the rest of the team get out and do some work. Again, a map where, you know, yeah, we're talking about Junkrat, talking about the Pharah. Pharah's maybe a little bit more risky on, you know, those maps, just because Widowmaker's so prevalent. Hit scan's always going to be there. Oh, Matt, you know, I don't know if my heart can take this. You know, game 1 today already, you know, gave me the jitters. With Boston and the Spitfire on this particular map, and we know what happened there. And is this going to be the comeuppance for yet another, you know, team that we didn't even get to see in the preseason?
And we were talking during the break. It's like, you know, Fraggy's stats on Winston are not great, but just how aggressive he is and the space that he creates for Shadowburn and Carpe is just amazing, right? That's why you've seen Carpe really pop off this series, getting a ton of support, obviously, from the support heroes. You know, you have Boombox and Natuno playing the supports for the Philadelphia Fusion, but really just the space that Fraggy creates, just kind of selflessly diving in there time and time again.
Which is what allows Carpe to play with such reckless confidence, right? To go for plays that most people would normally think the better of, you know, based on, you know, the odds or, you know, how much room they had to work with. So we talk about this, you know, concept of creating space so much in Overwatch, and it can be a little bit complex to really explain. But again, Fraggy is a man that demands attention, you know, big in and out of game. I'm pretty sure when he backs up, he beeps. You know what I mean? Imposing figure.
Oh, I love Fraggy, though. I mean, we've traveled all over the world, right?
We're
all over
hanging out in Germany and Sweden.
He's a great guy.
Here now. Sydney.
So we see Libero will be playing 76 here for NYXL. Philadelphia Fusion, they kind of know what they're going to run. They just kind of dare you to beat it here. They're just going to dive on top of you.
Fraggy's got around the back here. Normally the Winston's not going to be the flanker, but hey, who flanks the flankers? Maybe it's Fraggy this time. Sabiobi falls already to a headshot from Boombox. That's something that he was well known for doing, creating these big team fight winning opportunities from an early pick there with a charged Orb of Destruction shot.
And, you know, Bren was talking about on the desk, you know, they needed a big series out of Boombox. He has played quite well. You know, during contenders, you know, on EU United, did not have the best of showings. You know, they just kind of fell short that roster, but really into Overwatch League, proving himself in a big way.
Yeah, but even through the weakness of his old team, I don't think anyone doubted how strong his ability was. Europe is blessed with so many very good Zenyatas, and now the Philadelphia Fusion also is. Carpe, Sabiobi goes down early in this fight yet again. Now, Boombox, you can see a lot of those red crosses or those white crosses on the screen. A lot of people need healing, but that's not Boombox's job right now. His job is to try and chunk down these tanks. He steps forward, he commits himself. It's like walking into the ocean. He knows he needs to reset for the next fight.
So interesting watching the Zenyatta players through their POV. You see everybody needing healing, occasionally throwing out a healing orb on a few players.
No, I'll get to you later.
Yeah, it's really about that Discord and the damage. Arc uses Valkyrie for NYXL. They're able to take the point back from the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, the real game starts to get played as the Fusion, they'll have some ultimates to break into the point. We'll see what Libero decides to use with this Tac Visor. Potentially just kind of sit up all the way in the back. They really need to, you know, get Poco at least demech before you use this tactical visor.
His NYXL ult economy is looking pretty good right now, Matt. Neptuno goes for that again. He very often does this, a preemptive Valkyrie to give his team the extra healing they're going to need to weather the damage as they push in. Fraggy gets bounced upon there as well, but he's brought back by Neptuno. Poco's able to do with Libero. Now Sabiobi, he sticks it! Oh, again and again and again! Tracer play in this game has just been nothing short of mercurial, and Sabio is not done there. Transcender's coming out, but maybe a little bit late in the day. Still going to be looking for a little bit more, of course. Has some room on the point. Oh, Carpe fancies a bit of a biffo with him. Bit of 1-for-1. So far, Fusion with the numbers on the point. They don't have it flipped in their favor yet.
Yeah, Janus will use the Primal Rage, trying to extend the point control for NYXL. Poco knocks Libero off the side. You know, potentially it looked like Poco was getting quite low there on his D.Va mech. If they would have been able to get the D-mech with that Primal Rage, you still had Sabiel be there for NYXL. Maybe you think about investing that tactical visor, but the does not work out in their favor. Oh, Meko takes out Neptuno here as Neptuno's going for the res. Shadowburn using the blade, cuts through both the supports though of NYXL. That is huge because NYXL could have capitalized there on that Neptuno death.
Yeah, I respect that play so much. He realizes that they were missing the Mercy, so he goes into Eva the Ledger and then he gets more. Both supports down. That's just beautiful. Poker now is just going to avoid the, impending fallout from a self-destructive Meko and step back onto the point. Carpe's able to get back to the safe haven, care of the defense matrix thrown in the doorway, a cone of silence for all the people, their nasty words.
And Libero still with this attack visor, it's so difficult to use 76 ult right now. You need to get Poco out of the mech. You see the Transcendence now coming in here for the Philadelphia Fusions. Like, when is the right time to use it? It's going to be the Transcendence used for NYXL. They're going to use their Valkyrie as well. So you see here, they do use the attack visor. It'll be Libero cleaning up Mark here towards the end. Oh, both supports out in the open. SaveLB gets one.
So much pressure being put on Philadelphia Fusion's Poco there just to try and protect against a lot of that tactical visor damage. To be fair, he did a good job. He managed to de-suit Meko first. You can see that Poco and Meko are actually looking for each other on the battlefield.
Now with 83% and counting, New York XL in control of the point. Philadelphia Fusion have their Valkyrie. SaveLB wants to end that though.
It's going to be devastating. Doesn't quite stick it, but he'll get the kill anyway. Boombox falls down. SaveLB sticks around. Cleverly doesn't recall until he knows that he's got the kill. Neptuno's trying to hang out in the banner, but it's not exactly a biodome. He's going to get pressured out. But SaveLB is punished for this. Both support for now for the Philadelphia Fusion though. Now another Dragon Blade, another play that needs to be made by Shadowburn. He needs to make up the difference, and he's done it yet again. 2 kills for him. Carpe's now going to get another one, even with both supports missing. The Fusion are staying alive in this fight. That should never happen. But Shadowburn's the kind of player that delivers you the plays that we would never otherwise be seeing. Beautiful stuff, and now we're into that overtime here. SaveLB is down. Philadelphia Fusion watches Libero, tries to get in onto the point. What a comeback. Shadowburn on more than one occasion turns the map back in the favor of the Fusion. That's just all class.
5 Dragon Blade kills there in our first point for Shadowburn. And that was such a great play. SaveLB uses that pulse bomb. He takes out Boombox. That forces the Valkyrie out from Neptuno in that short, close-range area inside. And then you see SaveLB and Janus jump right on top of him. Neptuno actually makes it all the way out to Fraggy, who puts down his Winston bubble, trying to give him a little bit of space inside. He gets taken out by Jonak, though. Some great movement by Neptuno, just to even make it that far, right? But Shadowburn towards the end with that blade. Just way too strong. He'll play Pharah here as we go into the next point.
I just love this as a response. Both supports down. He has no backup for this Dagger Blade except for that defense matrix of Poco, and he just goes for it anyway. It's like the Excelsior didn't expect the Fusion to go so ham in that fight, as Shadowburn turned it on its head with one play.
Casually grabs 2 and then just up the wall, get the pack, go back down, finish Jonak off. The Fusion will not have a Zen here, so they'll opt to go Lucio and Mercy for that speed to get back out towards the point faster. It'll be Shadowburn who takes out Janus and Libero at the beginning. Shadowburn just put down a ton of free damage here.
Meanwhile, Big Boss Pine is gripping the arms of his throne. White Knuckles seeing a Pharah on the field and not being answered. Libero is going to attempt to answer it with a Soldier 76 and hope that's going to be enough. See if that's going to be the case. Point being captured here by the Excelsior. Now a chance for Philadelphia to jump in and try and do something about it. Carpe misses this pulse bomb and is forced to wait a second for it to blow up before he goes further forward. SaveLB low. I'm pretty sure that would have forced out a recall if it wouldn't already have. Bubble dropped on top of the Philadelphia Fusion, but it does nothing to really placate them at this stage. It's Janus to fall, SaveLB over the edge, and that should do it for now for the NYXL. Arc goes in with a res. You actually can't bring SaveLB back to life because he went over the edge. He has to settle for someone else here. Maybe it'll be Meko. It is.
Yeah, you bring both tanks back into the action. Janus does have Primal Rage. He's going to use it now. It's going to be Transcendence used by NYXL here. Neptuno does fall with the sound barrier. They use the res to bring it up, and then the sound barrier comes down.
Carpe recalls back to the point. SaveLB will still be a menace, but now he's done. Meko as well won't be much longer for this world, and they're just trickling in one by one. This is not what the NYXL wants at all. They need to be there in numbers at the same time, not slightly staggered out from each other, and the whole time Shadowburn has just been getting shot after shot after shot with these rockets. He's looking really, really good.
And we say, how talented of a DPS duo, Shadowburn and Carpe are. Right now, you look at the 4 DPS players over the course of this game. Carpe with 20 elims, Shadowburn with 20 as well. 19 final blows combined between the two of them. On the side for NYXL, you have 18 eliminations, 7 final blows combined by both of their DPS players. Carpe and Shadowburn just getting the job done here.
Libero still stubbornly doesn't want to switch to McCree. He thinks that the 76 has enough hit scan pressure to shut down Shadowburn, but that has not proven to be the case thus far. A little bit of damage there on Sabiobi, keeping him honest.
And just look at the positions he's playing with the Pharah here, going up against the 76. I mean, he's able to just shoot right through the Winston bubble, and then when the Winston bubble's not up, they just fly the D.Va defense matrix around the corner. He's just able to, they're not even worrying about Libero on that 76 doing much of anything.
Now what Shadowburn wants to do is going to hover low and close, look for a barrage if it needs to respect. Oh, Transcendence out, he doesn't have to use it as well. The Transcendence was kind of forced out with Libero going down. The Tactical Visor now active over on the point. Shadowburn here looking for Sabiobi, he's found him there, nice shot. Now he's going to go for the barrage in close. Defense Matrix blocks most of it, but it's still enough for Mecha to get desuited and taken down. And time for Shadowburn to get away from the exploding mech. Best case result. Now a couple more shots. Primal Rage being forced out of New York. Excelsior are forced to use all their resources just to stay in the game. And so far, even that's not enough.
And the point is still controlled by the Philly Fusion right now. They have more players on it as well. The Philadelphia Fusion so close to getting this upset over NYXL. New York with not a lot of time here. Sabiobi, 99%, he's gonna have the pulse bomb. Libero will go off of 76, will go over to the Pharah to counter this Pharah v Pharah.
This could be the last fight here. The NYXL must put this to a stop now. Again, as you mentioned, going to the Pharah, giving away some of that old percentage that Libero had, but he already used his tac visor. Now we're in overtime. What's the play from the NYXL? There needs to be something happening, but no one has really any ultimates. Carpe's down first, though. That's the pick. The second one's going to be there from Libero, and Shadowburn is taken out of the sky. It's a direct rocket hit, and he's not for this world anymore. Janus on towards Neptuno, and finally, the NYXL descend upon the promised land, keep themselves alive in this map and in this series.
And usually a team loses a fight like that and you kind of come out of it. It's like, all right, well, at least we got them to use some ultimates, but NYXL came in, they had no ultimates to use. So kind of looked, everything was just clean slate across the board. Boombox will have Valkyrie here for Philadelphia. New York needs to basically bring this back from 99 to 0 to force our third and final point.
Patience is a virtue for Philadelphia. I'm sure they're aware of this one. Remember, they obviously had an issue getting reverse swept in the past. Well, Jonak was on his own. They forced the Transcendence because he was low and he was out of position, or at least playing on the periphery. That's a good opening for the Philadelphia Fusion. They want to look to try and do something about it, but Fraggy gets taken down again, too aggressive. It's going to be the Valkyrie for Boombox to bring Fraggy back up. Sabiobi still a menace. A threat in the backline, but it may not matter. Jonak is down. Arc is forced to res him as well. Poco into the fray once again. A lot of damage on these tanks. They're struggling to stay alive. Poco self-destruct. Should be able to get back in his bet. Libero's got a lot of room to work, but it might not be enough. He's being forced back, chased down, in fact, corralled out of the map, and Janus also being forced out of this one. It's almost captured by the Philadelphia Fusion. It might be a big barrage here from Libero to try and save it. It's the only ultimate they've got in play right now. Libero's down, attempted barrage, but Shadowburn gets it first. It's a Pharah v Pharah. The rain of rockets comes through, and for the Philadelphia Fusion, it may as well be confetti. They're just on the threshold of winning this match out. A couple more steps and they'll be there. Mecha gets desuited, taken down. Neptuno looking for Jonak. A couple more and they'll be done. Overtime ticks down yet again. Oh, I could go all day, it don't matter. This is great Overwatch, jumping over the top. Arc has fallen to Carpe now, and Neptuno trying to stay safe. Poker on the point, pressuring away. Libero taking down Pulse Bomb. Janus being removed from the fight, and that's going to be it. The Philadelphia Fusion bring us second massive upset of the day. This time against the New York Excelsior.
Carpe goes absolutely ham during this final map. 30 eliminations, 14 final blows, only 3 deaths. He was a monster all series long. You see the potential that this Philadelphia lineup has. But him and Shadowburn are clicking. They are difficult for anybody to deal with, and they get a big win here today.
That was a long fight, man, as well. You can see just how much the XL were throwing at the point to try and get it back. But there was a moment we saw on camera, Jonak standing out towards the side, about 20 HP on him, and that was the go signal. The lines of communication must be really quite efficient if the Fusion can focus that down. What a match it's been, guys! And we're only 2 games in. What a day for Overwatch has been. Let's head over the desk now to get this one broken down. The game that was, the Fusion take out the NYXL.
Thank you so much, Uber and Mr. X. What a ridiculous series. One more time for the Philadelphia Fusion. Ridiculous finish here. Day 10 is getting quickly out of hand. Already 2 major upsets. And here to break it down, we got Brennan and Reinforce once again. Let's start here with game number 3. It's tied up 1-1 at the half. Coming into game 3, we see the major substitution. When Pine is in the lineup, they have not lost to control, but things started off well here for Philly instead. They take the first map, and as we take a look at some of the general highlights, let's talk through some of the key players in their early victories, Brent.
Yeah, for me, it was this initial round was going away of Philadelphia, mainly because Carpe was keeping everyone in check, and Sabayobi wasn't really pressuring Carpe at all in this fight. In fact, as a little statistic here, Pine and Carpe were actually matched equally. They got 3 kills apiece on each other. They were really just keeping each other in check. They both had moments where they were popping off, but Philly did a great job of sort of shutting down Pine and not letting it happen. However, there was a turning point in the later rounds.
And Johnny, what do we see there as we went to the second and third heat of Ilios?
Well, we see Philadelphia Fusion overall, they're so good at capturing this first point, right? We saw on all 3 stages, actually, they got the first cap, and they built so much percentage of that and managed to build an advantage. But then again, I mean, New York has Pine, and Pine doesn't really make sense either. So despite losing the first fight on all stages, New York actually goes away with the win, which is a steal, to be honest, when you look at it.
It was pretty ridiculous. Very scrappy moments in game number 3. So we knew if it does go to a game 5, it's going to be a fun one to watch. But I don't think a lot of people at home expected it. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from game number 4 as we jump into the action here. Dorado was the map, Philly on the attack first. They get stuffed short of that second point. Meanwhile, we have Sabayobi, who is lighting it up on the Widowmaker. He was getting it done on the Tracer. The Widow, though, causing so many problems here as we saw the initial defense coming in from New York.
I was honestly losing my mind watching these games because everything was going New York Excelsior's way in terms of the way they wanted to go, but this was the issue here. This guy, Shadowburn on the Genji, but also Carpe, this DPS duo just somehow managed to upset any sort of team play that New York Excelsior were trying to get across. And honestly, I feel like we need to coin some sort of new term for when the DPS is just overwhelming. Like, it's ridiculous. The clutch factor that they had coming into this match. Carpe constantly getting these pulse bombs off Shadowburn with the blades as well. That game, it's been incredibly close throughout the entire series so far. And New York Excelsior, they should be coming out on top of these matches, which they did on Dorado, but on the Ilios, I should say. But Dorado, Philly ended up full holding them on the second checkpoint. That just doesn't happen.
And Johnny, they had about 2 minutes left. New York was looking all set up to succeed here to seal the deal 3-1 on the match. How did Philly stop them on the final push?
Well, it comes down to the aggressive tanks. Once again, we saw Janus in the lineup, and I talked in the halftime about how Mono and Janus have very different play styles, right? So once again, if we look at the highlight from that moment, actually, key moment in the last moments of the game, New York actually had double support ultimate up and had the advantage. So you guess, oh, they're going to get away with the win here. I mean, they have Sandiara Transcendence, they had the Mercy Valkyrie, etc. But their tanks were so passive, so you actually saw that New York, they had to pop their ultimates prematurely because they had to heal up those tanks, and as such, I mean, Philadelphia could just stall it out and finally pop Shadowburn's Dragon Blade to eventually get the victory on Dorado.
Do you credit one player in that final fight, or is it just a full team effort from Philly?
Well, I think it's good that they're playing around Shadowburn and Carpe, right? So once again, Fragi recognizes that Shadowburn has the Dragon Blade up, and he's waiting patiently for Shadowburn's go call. So Shadowburn, he sees that New York is starting to pop the support ultimates, and he wants to wait out before he draws that blade. Fragi is patient as well, and then they as a team go in together, make the space for Carpe and Shadowburn to make it happen, and they get away with the win.
So they get the win. We're now tied up 2-2. We're going to game 5, and let me hit this home one more time. Pine is undefeated in matches he has played in the Overwatch League regular season, especially Control is when we tend to see him. They don't bring him out for Lijiang Tower, and it's 2-0 Philadelphia. Let's take a look at the final highlights here as Shadowburn and Carpe win off. But this first point, so close, back and forth in both directions, Bren.
Yeah, utterly ridiculous map in general, because me and Johnny were losing our minds watching this. It was ridiculous. Carpe and Shadowburn, again, these guys, we've got to point them out because they were absolutely nutty. The clutch potential from them, constantly with the Dragon Blades and whatnot. In fact, the final game-winning moment for Philadelphia Fusion was off the back of Shadowburn's immense game sense on Genji and knowing when to engage with the Dragon Blades. But all around, general, in fantastic DPS play. And it really comes down to New York Excelsior, again, being too passive. It's a similar issue that London Spitfire had in the previous series we've seen today, where they're a little bit too passive. Boston basically abused that by being overly aggressive with the forward holds, and we're seeing the same now.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at teams like Seoul Dynasty who utilizes their tanks so well. We often see Miro is the go-to tank for Seoul Dynasty when they want to shut down their DPS. They don't want to give room to the DPS players of the enemy team, but now we see that New York Excelsior, they instead opt to play the passive style versus Shadowburn and Carpe, and as such, I mean, Shadowburn and Carpe, they're the ones dictating the fight. So I'm a bit confused what the strategical decision was going into this matchup, because obviously it just wasn't the right one.
It was an amazing battle to watch throughout the entirety of this series, but now it's time to crown our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. And this one, originally was Sabiobi, we swapped him out for Carpe. Carpe got it done early in the game. Here he is with some looks on Numbani, but it was really the way he closed out this series. Strong performance in Game 3 despite the loss, comes back stronger in Game number 4 and seals the deal with a ridiculous performance on Lijiang Tower. Carpe, once again, our player of the match.
Yeah, and in general as well, the statistics, just to throw one out here, Carpe had 52 seconds. That was his time he took to charge his ultimate on Tracer, which is ridiculously fast. It's a lot faster, almost 30 seconds, I believe, than average. He's really just doing so much overwhelming damage for his team, and it's not the fact that he's doing this damage and causing so many problems with just his, you know, his guns, but it's the pulse bombs. What he does with the pulse bombs once he gets them, he's constantly clutching it out, constantly getting kills onto the supports and making magic happen.
Johnny, I have to ask you, coming into the matches last week, you said that Sabiobi is the best Tracer in the game. Where do you put Carpe now?
Well, you have to ask the question, right? Where does it fit among all the DPS players, not only Tracer players, because he pops up on the Widowmaker as well, the McCree, etc. So it begs the question, how good is Carpe comparing to all the DPS players in the league? Is he a top 3 DPS player? After these consistent performances, you have to say, he's probably in there somewhere.
Bren, after watching the victory from Philadelphia, where do you rank their DPS duo across the whole league?
On par with a lot of these Korean rosters, honestly. The Shadowburn and Carpe, we're going on about them for death, but for very good reasoning, because they do so much. And the reason they are enabled so much is because their team supports them in a way. So Fraggy and Poco end up going in and initiating for them so that they can get the maximum efficiency and maximum damage done in the team fights.
It's been an amazing week 3 so far and a ridiculous day number 10. So far, it's 2 upsets, and coming up next, we got the final match of the day. When we return, the Houston Outlaws take on the Florida Mayhem, and if today's taught us anything, Mayhem's not going down without a fight. We'll be right back.